Welcome to the EST Hangout.
This is the EST Hangout, and today's guests are...
A happy Monday to you. Welcome to the EST Hangout, presented by White Claw Hard Seltzer. The difference is clear. Matt Iwanyk, Tom Gazzola with you here, and joining us, we've got Wil Fraser back, who's, look, I really like that shirt.
Thanks, bud.
It's a solid
Appreciate
shirt.
it.
And
Well, look at
Jeff
Krusher.
Krushell, who's got a fun shirt as well. He joins. I'm going to go with fun. Well, it's more, yours is just one color, basically. His has a bunch of colors in there, so it's a fun shirt. I like it, though. It's
thanks.
wonderful. It's I really like it, too, Jeff.
I got this actually, as a matter of fact, is out of a ski shop in Nelson.
Really?
Speaking of skiing.
Just rubbing it in.
Yeah.
That
Just
seems
rubbing
very
it in.
much like
That's
something
a
you wear
flex.
around.
That's what that is.
After-
That's called a flex.
After a day of
flex.
skiing, throw that on.
yeah, exactly.
That'd be beautiful.
And Maddie, it was nice of you to throw on
Actually, I meant to take this
a
off.
hoodie.
Well, Tommy looks good too today. It's mornings. I had to do the morning show today, so I don't care.
Why did you
Touche.
have to do the morning show today? I noticed that this morning. Why were there was extra people.
Because because Zach has to learn the system.
Oh yeah.
He's still got to learn the
I'm
morning.
sure it's
Zach took
intense.
him. So it's just the quick turnaround for Trev and stuff. So, well, it's a brand. You couldn't even run this system yet. You got to learn it.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, months, maybe years.
This is only like his third day on the morning show.
Oh my gosh.
We haven't had the time to get him on there.
I want to know one thing. Are you two just going to yell at each other for 2 hours? Or
No.
like, what are we doing here
No,
today?
these two love each other too much.
Okay.
Or do you mean Iwanyk and I?
No.
Oh,
Because
Krusher?
When,
No, Krusher and I love each other.
I know, I could tell, but I was being...
But I also are you alluding to the last time I
which was
on here?
amazing, yes.
Yeah, but Millard and I love each other
I
too.
know.
But that's how we've always communicated.
I had to ask Maddie, I'm like, did they interact a lot at the old shop, or what was their deal? He's like, oh yeah, they're fine. And I was
Yeah?
like, yeah, but because after you guys were like bro hugging it out, and I was like, wow, you guys just like screamed at each other for 2 hours. I had said like 9 words. It was a great show.
Yeah, we had Will and Dean on, and it was a great debate between the two of them for 2 hours.
Millard is
and it was
classic
wonderful.
contrarian, like always has been. It's always been his strength, and so I love engaging with the contrarian.
People weren't just texting the text line; they were like texting us and be like, whoa, what was that? Do those guys like each other? I'm like, yeah.
It's in contention for. I don't know if you're aware that we have an award show coming up in fall.
Oh,
the Estes.
wonderful.
Do our own award show.
doing it.
And
I love it.
That show isn't going to be in contention for show of the year across all shows. It's Dusty marked it down as one of the award nominees potentially for best of the year. We're doing a full award show.
full-heartedly agree
I
with
love
that.
it. I think it's a great idea.
I'm
The
waiting for some.
Estes.
Yeah, the Estes.
That's going to have legs,
And
man.
I've reached out to a.
We're doing it.
I've
I
reached
love
out
it.
to a venue to see what the cost would be. Seriously, well, this is full serious.
Dusty has a dream, and we're gonna fulfill that dream. And now it's Matthews, and I'm
Yes.
all in on it.
Dustin and Eric were talking about it on the show one day, and then I came into the morning show like the next day, like, man, what do you think of this? And I was like, it's brilliant. It's stupid, but brilliant at the exact same time. And we're gonna do it. And next fall, we're gonna have the Estes.
What's going to be like the main event? Like, what's the 100-meter sprint of the Estes? Like, what's the big one?
Well, so the big award,
What's the
best
one
picture?
that everybody's going to be? What's the very last one you're going to present?
Well,
Because
and I've been
everybody's on the
thinking-
edge of their seats.
I think show of the year would be one.
Yeah.
The other one is big moment of the year.
Yeah?
The
Okay.
biggest EST moment of the year, which Bob Stauffer's in contention for.
Oh, what did Stoff do?
He's joined us in Vegas
I roped him
out
in.
of nowhere. He just comes up the escalator, and all of a sudden we see Stoff, and then he stops by in Bob's way and does like 2 minutes
Like
with
a
the mic too
reverse
far away from
Donald
him.
Trump, right? Like just
Yeah, instead of coming down, he went up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he joined us for 2 minutes with the mic a little too low, so no one could really hear him fully. But he was there.
He was so excited too. He was talking to me about it in the press box in Vegas that night. He's like, might not be the last time. I was like, okay, whatever.
I saw Bob last week at the Oilers game. I haven't been to enough this year, and I went up to Bob and I just thanked him for it. I'm like, Bob, people loved it. And he just looks at me and goes, I know.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Stroke his ego so much.
It was great.
Yesterday he was on a mission in the press box.
Yeah, Bobby. So
gotta get back on air. No,
big
relax,
moment of the
Mooner's got
year,
it.
show of the year. What I really want is for the EST show, like the actual show of the year. I want the Nielsen show to lose because it'd be great if Dusty doesn't win an award at his own
Hello
show.
Hockey is
It'd be hilarious.
sweeping this thing.
I love it.
It'd be like text of the year. Bring that for an Esty.
Listen, I think
We could go
Dusty
deep into
deserves
this.
a lot of credit for today's show that he put on.
Why?
Because I thought for sure I was going to walk in to him listing all of LeBron James's 40,000 greatest points.
He's going to go game by game,
Yeah,
point by
exactly,
point.
yeah.
Dusty didn't want to get into the MJ argument today. That was his
didn't
thing.
want to get
He
into it?
doesn't want to deal with people. He doesn't want to deal with the MJ people. So LeBron, he overlooked. Well, he didn't overlook him. He didn't have him for one segment, good, bad, and the ugly from the weekend.
Yeah.
But he threw it into the Italian Center segment. That's good
It's
later.
interesting.
Talk about his 40,000.
I've always liked the LeBron MJ thing because I think it's the perfect the difference between best and greatest. Like, to me, Michael
Like
Jordan's
most talented in the.
Michael Jordan's the greatest basketball player of all time, and LeBron James is the best basketball player to have ever played. And I'll do this another way. And I know old timers will disagree with me. They'll put Bobby Orr into this, but for me, Wayne Gretzky's the greatest hockey player to ever play, and Mario Lemieux's the best.
Oh, you're
hockey
going to
player.
Mario.
Yeah.
Because some people are now saying McDavid might be the most talented player to have ever played the game.
Yeah, he might win.
And Wayne is the greatest to
Mario
have played
Lemieux
it.
was 6'5" and 220
Well, who is
pounds.
Is it Steve Dryden who used to be with TSN? I think that's
Yeah,
his
Steve
name.
Dryden.
He was. I think he was Quizmaster or whatever.
something like that.
But
yeah.
he wrote the article about 2 years ago saying McDavid is already in his mind the most talented player ever to play
Yeah,
the
yeah.
game, and started with like saying not saying he's the better than Gretzky, greatest of all time,
Yeah.
but in terms of just pure talent. He's never seen one more talented
That's fair.
than Connor McDavid. And I think that's the thing that's used in football too, that Tom Brady's the greatest
Yeah, but
of
he's
all
not
time,
the
but he's
best
not the best quarterback
Yeah.
we've ever played.
No.
Aaron Rodgers might have been better.
Yeah, I don't want to
If we
say
go
it
at the
because
same
he's out
time.
of his mind.
100%.
Joe Montana would probably still be on that list for me.
Where are like the Elways and the Marino never won, I know, but like Manning,
Yeah.
like where do they stack up?
Below
Well,
those two.
where-
Like,
where does Mahomes-
greatest or talent?
Manning might be on there.
Greatest
man.
or talented?
He was so smart.
Which conversation?
Because we're kind of on greatest right now, right?
If it's greatest, like Joe Montana was that guy
Yeah.
until Tom Brady caught him. And I don't think there's another person in that conversation except maybe Patrick Mahomes will get there. I think we're watching. I think we're seeing
Mahomes
the
is already on the doorstep of
He's
it.
on that
he is, man.
trajectory.
His
to
numbers
be
are
there.
already better than Brady's at the same age. He's already blowing Brady out of the water at the same age.
Brett Favre being a bit of a Looney Tune as well. Does that take him down a peg or two?
His
Wow.
interceptions take him down.
And
The
that,
gunslinger
He was a
takes him
he was a
down.
gunslinger. Yeah, which
Yeah.
is kind of, I mean, man, one of the most entertaining quarterbacks to ever play.
Why
Like,
did he throw that? Oh,
Yeah.
it paid off.
Yeah, exactly.
Or why did he throw that? It got
Oh
intercepted.
my God, pick
Yeah.
six. Yeah.
Here's
Why did he
one.
throw it? Because watch the way he throws. It's a missile.
Yeah.
Like,
And Jordan Love is looks very similar to him, like in style of play.
Yeah.
And like how the Packers lose the playoffs this year, there's a stupid pass.
Yeah.
Gets picked. What was Brett Favre's last throw with the Green Bay Packers?
Yeah.
A pick against the Giants.
Yeah, that's right.
But at the same time, there was just utter greatness you got with Brett Favre with the Packers, and
Swagger.
most entertaining. Yeah, I
And
would go
swagger.
with that.
Yeah. Something about a quarterback when he hits the field and he just exudes confidence that the rest of the team picks up on. I mean, that was Brett Favre.
That's the key, though, man. Having the rest of the team on board.
Yeah.
A quarterback that can leave. So, like, two things in the NFL that in recent history, that I've really focused on was when Brady left the Patriots. Is Belichick really this mastermind that can make magic out of anything? Or was Brady just this all-powerful talent, right, that can change the destiny of a franchise? Which you wouldn't think in football, but there's no question about it, right? So that story kind of rolled out. Watching Cleveland Browns turn around has been another fascinating, sort of a real life experiment in sport for me since the new ownership came on board. But man, watching the combine, been watching the combine here and watching
Of
these
course
young
you
talents come up. Listen, man, like I can't help but think, look, if you get one of these young talents in the right environment with the right mentorship, you could turn a franchise around. Like there's some things going on at the combine this year that are very, very special. And, you look at these environments where you have somebody like a Brady, or Peyton Manning was probably another master, like teamsman, right? Captain of the ship, because he maybe wasn't the most talented, but man, he got things done. What would happen, guys, if you took all these quarterbacks we're talking about and gave them the same environment? who would be the best freaking quarterback, right? Because they all had their things they had to work with. They all had the team, offensive line. And all I'm watching in an NFL game is the offensive line, man. If Mahomes doesn't have that offensive line, he's not the quarterback he is right now, right? I mean,
Well,
there's
Ricky
so many
Ray,
variables.
I'll take CFL to start his career at the Elks, Eskimos at the time, was great.
Yeah.
Then the O-line stunk. And there were some fans here that were like, I got to get rid of this guy. Well, no, he was still great. He just had no protection.
Right, he was on the ground more than he was standing, for crying out loud, right?
Well, I think that was the genius of Bill Belichick. Is he was a great coach, but he was also he understood opportunity.
Yeah.
And so he had a Tom Brady. He had one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, and he understood that you did everything that you could to win a championship as long as you had him. He was the exact inverse to what the Green Bay Packers did with Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers every year looked like the best player on the field, was the best player on the field, and his team didn't do what it needed to do to put them over the top. It was frustrating to watch if you were an Aaron Rodgers fan. And now you're seeing the Green Bay Packers, they'll rebound pretty quickly here because they didn't basically give away the entire team over a decade. And meanwhile, the New England Patriots are in a big hole because for a decade, their entire structure was built around, we got to win this year.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what happens 5 years from now, we're going to try and win this year. So you completely polar opposites ideas of how you build a franchise.
There's also just a moment where it was like, I do think Bill Belichick is the greatest coach of all time.
Yeah, agreed.
You had the greatest quarterback of all time, and pairing that together,
Yeah.
you're gonna get greatness. Like
Lightning
you're
in a
gonna
bottle.
get, it's like, and we're seeing it now. Andy Reid's a great coach. He's not to me. He's still not Bill Belichick. But he's
but he's
moving
not
his way
far
up.
away.
He's moving his way up.
Yeah.
And Pat Mahomes is there. And this is what happens when you pair a great coach with a great
Yeah,
quarterback.
like-
Is Andy Reid great because of Patrick Mahomes? You have to win with a quarterback. And no coach is winning without a quarterback.
What's wild-
Except Brian Billick with
Yeah.
Trent Dilfer. But you had a great defense.
What's wild to me
but
is that
the quarterback could go in with different coaches still a little bit. We saw that with Tom Brady going to go win with the Bucs. But you also still need that right coach because Aaron Rodgers didn't with Mike McCarthy. He couldn't win. He won the one with Mike McCarthy, but they should have won more.
Oh, they should have won.
Mike
a ton
McCarthy
more.
just isn't.
He's not a good.
He's
coach.
not Andy Reid.
Yeah, yeah. No, like it's interesting. The Andy Reid thing. I was watching this year's Super Bowl, going. It feels like it was just yesterday we had all finally made up our mind.
Yeah.
That Tom Brady, Bill Belichick were the greatest ever, and now all of a sudden, within 2 years, the question becomes open again. The door has been reopened. Where if that team goes and wins 2 more Super Bowls, that's a dead heat.
Yeah, man.
That's a dead heat, in my
they're
opinion,
going
as far
to.
as who's the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're going to win 2 more Super Bowls.
Well,
But
you would think if that coach and that quarterback stay together for another decade, they probably have 2 more Super Bowls.
This is the interesting thing, though, is that after Brady and Belichick won number 3, it took them a really long time to win number 4. They got there, but they never could win.
Yeah.
And it took a very long time to get that next one. Could Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, and I'm taking Kelsey out of this, I'm taking everyone else because it's QB head coach that we really look at.
Yeah.
Can they win one in the next 5 years?
Absolutely.
I think so.
Yeah.
And if they do,
yes.
then it's just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like,
all bets are off at that point.
everything we believed about Brady and Belichick, as you said, now it's like,
I didn't think it would happen this fast.
No, it
Yeah.
couldn't have.
Yeah.
How do you go from the greatest of all time to potentially the next greatest of all time in a snap of a finger, basically?
Now, didn't Andy Reid, doesn't he have a timetable here? Isn't he close to retiring?
Yeah, but why would you quit?
I don't know. He's like, what, 63?
When you
but
have,
Belichick's
when
in
you
his
have the
70s,
chance
but-
to be considered the greatest ever, why would you quit?
There were the stories this playoffs
That's
of
fair,
him
but-
thinking about retirement.
Yeah,
Sure.
that's why.
So he's 65.
Okay.
Bill Belichick is what?
71?
But if he's still on his own terms and the team's behind him,
71.
get him a golf cart.
So-
like, honestly.
Yeah.
Belichick was in
Honestly.
his
Wow. He's doing
late 50s, early 60s when they started.
'Cause
So
the players
Andy
are-
Reid's a little bit older.
A little bit
than
older,
I think
okay,
for where Belichick was.
Okay.
The
But
players
Andy
play
Reid
for him.
just overall wins is
Yeah.
knocking on the door.
But his players play for him, man. Like,
oh, yeah.
4 NFC championship games in a row with the Eagles. Got to the Super Bowl once, losing to the Pats.
Yeah.
Just never could do it there. But now comes the Kansas City.
We didn't have the quarterback.
yeah.
Shots fired at Donovan McNabb. Alan Mitchell's going to be mad at you.
No, it's the truth. Like Donovan McNabb was good enough to get you there, but he was not a championship caliber quarterback. You see the difference in in quarterback.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great. Oh, go ahead.
That Kelsey sort of little episode on the sideline during the Super Bowl just tells you everything about that team, man. For a guy, and again, Kelsey's got the Swiftie thing going on right now, so he's walking on water, right?
Yeah.
But for a guy to go up to a head coach, and again, the story is put me in. He wasn't, what the hell are you doing? He was like, put me in, I'll score.
Yep.
Andy Reid after the game says, no, we expect that, right?
Oh,
Come on, yes.
Yeah.
That's a team I can get behind
It's
right
also
now,
easy to say
man.
that when you win.
Of course.
Absolutely.
No, you lose, and what comes up, right?
I guess that's
But they
exactly
won.
it.
But they
Winning
won.
cures everything.
But the way Reid handled that, though, I don't think he would have changed that approach if they had lost. He would say, we expect that from our guys. I want that from my guys. I'm a head coach. Oh, I want one of our horses to come up and get in my face. Not too often.
Where is the greatest conversation of all time? Like in baseball, is it Babe Ruth? Is that or like where?
Oh,
Greatest
my
player of all
God.
time?
Yeah, like is it?
There's
Like, and where's
DiMaggio,
and where's
there's too much. Like
and
my
where's
opinion would
Ohtani
be
come
Mickey
into
Mantle,
this?
right?
Ohtani still has a ways to go yet to prove himself, I think.
Oklahoma, by the way.
Yeah, Tawny's breaking new ground, and I was hoping it would stick, but he's not quite there yet. He's like Patrick Mahomes. He's still got a lot to prove yet, right? But
But I would never put money on Japanese baseball players just because they are so used up playing in Japan.
Yeah, and that's historical. That's just that's
they
a
are
fact.
just overused. It's kind of similar to
Why
part of the reason
overused?
why Tom Brady was able to have the career that he did is because he grew up in the north. Well, he was a San Francisco kid, but went to college as a backup. Just the amount of throws in the arm. You've only got so many. And so like these Texas kids who do nothing but throw footballs from the time they're 3 years old, they burn out quick. And it's the same thing with Japanese baseball players.
It's true.
They
Hey,
are just overused.
Phrase. So Pete Walker, who's of course pitching coach for the Jays right now, was one of my players when he came to us from the Mets. Well, he was with the Mets, and he actually went over there and played for a couple years before he made his way back to the big leagues. And just he's a pro's pro, one of my favorite guys to ever work with. But he was telling the stories over there about how they would get so angry at him for not throwing enough. And he goes, I was overthrowing, man. He goes, some of their bullpens are 200, 300 pitch bullpens. Ooh. And that's just the way they operate. Just volume. And you would think, and it's probably changed a bit now. So I'm talking maybe a bit antiquated back in the day. We're talking over a decade ago when we had this conversation. But he was saying that, that's how they expect from their youth right up. It's not so much athlete management as athlete survival over there. And I think that's where it comes from. And historically, if you look at the players that do come over, they just don't have longevity here. They can't handle it.
They're also still throwing screwballs over there.
Right.
Like the torque that they're putting on their arms is unreal. So yeah, it's a completely different environment to what you see in North America.
Greatest baseball player though? Man,
Like I don't know of the story. Like we always like Gretzky goes. We throw out the football players. I know soccer
Cy
conversation, basketball, but like I feel like I don't know what the main people would say for baseball.
Well,
as
so
much as I follow the sport, I don't know where I would
the
go.
modern era of baseball, where you can compare apples to apples, basically starts post World War II and continues on until now. Yep. Whereas with football, modern era of football basically begins in the mid 70s and continues till now. So there's just such a bigger, broader group of guys.
But
to
we do
look at.
basketball goes for a while.
But modern era basketball doesn't begin until after the ABA merges with the NBA, and so that's like early 80s, right? So even there,
but some
like,
people
your
go
sample
Wilt and
size,
Bill Russell, which is before that, right?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
They go like that's the one they go in the conversation still sometimes for the NBA greatest of all time. People go MJ, they go Jordan, they go LeBron, but then something you go, what about Wilt and Russell? Like there are those guys that played well beyond that we keep
even
forgetting
hockey
about.
has that problem too, where it's like when you're talking about original six era, there was 6 teams. Yeah. How can you really do a comparison between that and what the NHL is now?
Yeah.
So whereas baseball, it's like it's kind of been this way for a long time. Like, which is why, I mean, all I've ever done is read books, but Mickey Mantle sounds like the greatest to have ever been.
He's in there for sure.
Yeah.
Man, there's
Do you know
so
what makes
many.
him great?
He was hungover every game.
He knows what I'm gonna say. He was a New York Yankee.
I would say more. He played at 160 pounds. And
Right.
hit
With the New York
50
Yankees.
home runs,
That's
man.
crazy.
Like,
Because he was a Yankee.
Yeah.
Greatness.
What were,
Breeds-
what were the
pinstripes
field
breed
dimensions back then?
They played at polo grounds that didn't even have a center field wall.
That's right. Yeah. Like
You know that?
Yeah. The measurements, outfield measurements changed.
It was like just an open
Depending on how they
opening.
set it up and where they were playing.
Yeah.
But if you go back, I can't remember what it is, so I'm not going to say. But if you go look at some of the dimensions of the fields back then, it's insane. 460 yards
Yeah.
center field, and 375 down
To the corner.
the left. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Come on, it's crazy.
This is what I love about baseball, though, is that there is no one dimension.
it's what makes it the best.
Yeah.
yeah.
Like, imagine if they said in hockey, here's your parameters.
I know. We
Do it within this. If
We-
you want to be a little bit bigger, you could be a little bit bigger. You want to be a little bit
We-
smaller, be a little bit smaller.
We,
It'd
had,
be great.
we tossed around this idea years ago where we were like, make a minimum and a maximum.
Soccer kind of has that. You
Yeah.
go to Wembley Stadium, it's a massive pitch, I believe.
Yeah.
Some places are a little smaller.
Yeah.
And it varies.
Yeah.
But you have minimums and maximums
love it.
and stuff. And
That'd be
that's
great.
what makes baseball so much fun is that you have the Green Monster
Yeah.
at Fenway.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
Yeah.
But then you also, in the back in the day, they got rid of it, but you had the hill and the
And
post
Houston.
Yeah.
in Houston.
Yeah.
Well,
That
Yan-
it
even
made no
Yan-
sense. You're
Even
scared to
Yankee
run into the
Stadium's
post.
got the short porch.
Yeah.
Like,
With the
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it-
And let's.
it-
How about we change
Hater
the grade
Parks-
of the field in center field? How about that,
Yeah.
guys? Let's
Up
make
the
it
back.
exciting.
Just let the batter's eye run up. I thought there was a baseball stadium then, or maybe it was a minor league.
Houston
it was
has the
Houston.
mound on,
Yeah,
onto
on
where
the batter's eye.
where-
Yeah.
and then they had a flagpole up there.
Yeah.
So you had to not only worry about a hill going up, you had to worry about a flagpole that you were going to run into.
Yeah.
Didn't Tiger Stadium have the flagpole in play as well?
It was.
because it was literally a box. It was a square, and it culminated at the tip, and then there was an American flag there.
Oh, yeah?
And I think they yanked it out. I can't remember when. But I remember
Houston got rid of it.
Yeah.
But even Fenway, like, there's the Green Monster, but then there's that weird, like, in center
It's
right field or
crazy.
something,
It's a
where
little
if the ball
niche.
gets in there,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
stuck there
Just
almost.
rattles around.
It's
yeah.
like a pinball game.
Yeah.
And it's, I don't know,
I've
like,
seen it happen too.
Yeah.
Like
in hockey, imagine, like, you had the, I don't know, defense-friendly,
Well, we
or
always
whatever it
talk
might
about
be.
Claire
you know?
Drake Arena and
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
corners
the
at Claire
square
Drake.
corners.
Yeah.
Oh my god! I almost
Yeah.
killed a linesman trying to rim a puck, and it took a bounce and it went straight out and almost hit him in the head. I was like, I'm so sorry. He's like, Claire Drake.
Claire
man."
Drake, man. Yeah.
yeah. Hey, but I love the perception of the game, the international game. That big ice, I love it. I just
yeah.
like the change. To
They're
see,
going away from it.
I know
like
it's
the
a
next
shame.
Olympics.
It's a crying shame.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a crying shame, I think, because I think it adds just a different perspective to the game, man.
Totally. Remember how bad Canada was at the 2006 Olympics?
Yeah.
And they didn't adapt to the bigger ice.
That's because also they ran back the team from 02 as much as they could.
Yeah, they did. That
they
was
didn't
a
try
miserable
to.
effort.
They did not try to build a new team.
No.
Yeah, but
It wasn't good.
then they had the 1 year where they'd figured everything out,
Yep.
and it was the most boring hockey I've ever witnessed.
2014, Dave Jamieson calls them the machine.
Yeah.
It was
That
just
is
very
great.
surgical.
Yeah.
It was boring hockey.
Yeah.
But Canada went out to do their job, which was to win gold.
Yeah,
and
it
they
was
did
drowning puppies, is
Yes.
what it looked like.
Which is weird.
It was just this Canadian squad just holding teams under the water and waiting for them to stop moving.
What's crazy is Latvia challenged them the
Latvia.
most.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They went to a shootout with Latvia or something like that. It was
Yeah.
like, of all the teams that maybe took down the machine, Latvia.
Yeah, yeah.
Mark Spector, the only person that's
Well,
going to
because
be
they
excited
did the
in
play
Canada.
dead.
If would the Oilers want a bigger ice right now, or would they be happy with what they have?
I don't know, man. How bad would their defense get exposed on bigger
That's a
ice?
good point.
Yeah.
Wider ice. I don't know about the increasing the length, but if you increase the width of the ice, I think a guy like Connor McDavid would just destroy teams.
Would it make a better game, do you think? I sometimes think a little more ice would just
It
free
slows
up
it
some
down.
of these guys.
You know what? It actually slows it down because you get to the corner and the boards and pucks get stuck there with the extra feet on the ends. So I think it slows it down. It's like you watch a European game on international ice and you're like,
It's deep
oh,
corners.
it's possession.
That's for sure.
It's possession.
Yeah,
it's
no,
possession.
it's true. Changes the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know
Interesting.
the emphasis is possession in the NHL, and understandably so, but like we're not talking about, okay, you got it, work it back and forth, find your seam, fast break up the middle, okay, get a controlled entry into the zone, work it down low, try to create an opportunity. It's more like take it back, go back, all right, see what they're looking at when they're forechecking you. Okay, you don't like it, circle it back, out to the outlet, back to you. On Hello Hockey, we had someone on, I can't remember who, but they were out and I think they're coaching in Germany, and they're like, possession, slow possession. There's no quick ups.
Okay, so here's the big question for you guys. It just came to my head. This is a great conversation. If let's say the ice doesn't go longer, but let's say it goes wider. Phrase how long? 2 feet in each side or a foot in each side? Let's say
however much room you want to give it. Yeah.
Whatever. Let's say it gets wider, right? It's going to change the game. It's probably going to change how you build your team.
Yep.
It's also going to change how we probably develop players, right? It's going to change the entire developmental pathway of a player. So that being said, let's start talking about that. But that being said, there's also talking, we've seen the changes in baseball right now historically. They're talking about, and they tested it last year, about moving the mound back, the rubber back 1 foot. Okay, so we can talk about that coming up too. But if you were to change the size of the ice, the entire game would be different. Yes or no? What do you guys think? Like as a GM, but as a developing hockey player, like is going to
Have you played on bigger ice before?
Yeah,
Have you?
actually, Clairview A, where we used to play, the Red Wings used to play, was international ice. And we always, my coach, Wally Kors, who there's many locals, legendary stories about him. He was a crazy guy. He kind of is. He settled down a bit, but he would always build a team around speed. If you couldn't skate, you weren't on the team.
Yeah.
Because our, pardon me, the defense would get burned. And those were our home games, too, so the majority of our games was on that ice. So if you weren't a quick skater, you were screwed. And then he wanted speed and attack because other teams didn't know how to play on that sized ice. And we would just crush teams at home.
I don't think it would change much up front, but I think your defensemen would have to be more mobile. And more able to carry pucks.
Yep.
And so because right now, you need your defensemen to be able to basically cut angles off of the defensive zone, whereas that just wouldn't be available if it was a wider ice surface. So you'd have to then prioritize the ability to puck retrieve and then carry, rather than
Does it take away the physical element of the game? Do you think?
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cause
It would and it would.
Like if you're focusing more on more mobile defense and stuff, is that not then it's more speed and there's not the opportunities
I trust that coaches would figure out, like if all of a sudden you were dealing with, instead of 210-pound defensemen, 205-pound defensemen, you would get a coach that realizes, okay, well, now that my forwards match up physically with the defense, we're running downhill on these guys, right? You'd probably get some guy who figures out where to soft dump it and then just run 2 guys in on defensemen, hoping that they cough it up. So
when you guys watch players come over from Europe, and I have never studied this, you guys would know. So this is a great question, maybe for you guys. Did they have physical attributes that the North American players don't typically have? Like, are there things like is because they are maybe grew up on a larger? There's like even going to Sweden, right? When we go there for MLB, it's right next to the hockey's nuts over there, right?
Yeah.
But even their local rinks are larger. The ice surfaces are larger. Do you guys notice, or have you noticed historically, that the European players coming over have some kind of weird hockey ability that North American guys don't?
What I've picked up on is the increase of North American styled European players coming over to North America earlier, playing in the USHL, American college system, all of that. So that's probably the biggest difference, is that the scouting has gotten younger and younger, so that now you're getting people going to these kids who look like North American kids saying, you're not helping yourself playing here in Finland or Sweden or whatever. You go sign with this Grand Rapids team or whatever USHL squad as a 16-year-old and develop that North American mindset playing on North American surfaces.
Krusher, the only thing I can remember is like talking to players that had come over, and the Oilers would always sign like 2 or 3 obscure Finns and Swedes every year, or a Dane every now and then, and you'd ask them about it, and they'd establish themselves as pros in their respective leagues, and they'd be like, there's a guy on me all the time. Like, I have no time out there. And then they slowly start to figure it out. But they can't play their game, at least in the conversations they told me. They're not used to playing that style where there's always someone breathing down their neck. And they feel like someone's always around them because it's smaller dimensions and it's a quicker, faster-paced game, and then more physical as well. So if they don't figure it out quickly,
interesting, man, right?
This is probably a broad generalization. I do find a lot of the Europeans that stayed in Europe be somewhat healthier people.
Yes.
like there is a lot more sleeping in their own beds.
Yeah.
Their mom's cooking their food for
Sure,
them later
yeah,
into
yeah.
I think
life.
there's not as much, or at least there used to be not as much practice.
Yeah,
and-
we like that they were just not as emotionally beat up
Yeah.
as some other young hockey players are by the time they hit. Matthias Ekholm would be the perfect example.
Yeah.
Like, is there a healthier hockey player that you've met? Like, they go to him and they're like, "So, what did you do during the All-Star break?" "Well, we've got young kids, so we just stayed around, went and saw a movie with my wife a couple of times." Like, that was his All-Star break. Everyone else is taken off to Jamaica and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Like, they just seem a little more. Like, they understand that this is only a part of my life. This
Yeah.
is not my life.
Right.
That's
man.
a great point,
Interesting.
phrase, because people here wanted Oscar Klefbom to come back, understandably so. But I remember having this discussion with Struddy because he is a Swedish hockey legend,
Yeah, yeah,
obviously.
Played 1 year.
Self-described. But he said it. He goes, they have a different way of thinking and philosophy over
Yeah.
there. It's like, he's like, I'll describe it to you this way, Tommy. He goes, if a guy doesn't feel 100% over there, he won't play. He'll get himself to 100, and when he feels like he's good to play, that's when he'll play. That's when he'll tell the coach he's good to go. And Clef, like Oscar, I remember talking to him when his shoulder was really starting to bother him, and he was debating getting the surgery. And he's like, I don't know, Tom. Like, he's like, I'm getting older. I'm like, you're 27, dude. Like, he's like, yeah, but I got so many things that I want to do in my life. And you hear that, and you go,
Love it.
Yeah.
oh, yeah. So hockey isn't the center of the
Yeah.
universe. And,
Right.
There is life after 35
And-
that you have to prepare for.
And
Yeah.
he got the shoulder replacement. I think what I was told is he got the plastic one instead of the metal.
Oh yeah.
And I was told by some people that if he had gotten the metal shoulder replacement, he could have continued playing. He didn't want to.
Yeah.
He just said, no,
wow.
I'm good.
What would be the difference between metal and plastic?
Well, the plastic one's probably not going to be as durable, of course,
Yeah.
especially under pressure. And I'm suggesting because of his age, they're probably thinking he's going to need it replaced again anyway. The titanium, of course, probably is quite a bit more expensive.
Yeah.
And it might have been porcelain, not plastic.
It was whatever softer compound and not the metal one. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, I had no idea. And so that goes back to what you said, Will, like the philosophy and the way of thinking and how they view their job, which is playing hockey or whatever sport, as opposed to they live, eat, breathe, and sleep it like North Americans do. It's a little bit different. Russians are crazy though. They do like 2 a days in the
Yeah, but
KHL.
Russians are crazy
Oh,
with
yeah.
a period. Like, that's just a general statement
Yeah.
that you can put in there. No, I think part of it is that you have guys in the Nordic countries who, and I don't know if it's because the state picks up more of the tab or what, but their parents didn't have to mortgage their future
Yeah.
to let their kid play hockey.
Well, they get into the club system.
Right.
Yeah.
And whereas here in North America, like you hear of young guys who are 16 and 17, and in a moment of weakness, they'll be like, I hate playing hockey.
Yeah.
But my parents have given up everything, including their marriage to each other, to
Oh.
get me to this point. I have to keep playing. And so it definitely feels more like the kids who are playing coming out of Europe want to play hockey.
Yeah.
That there isn't that little bit of nagging sort of like, I hate it here.
Yeah, you know
Like,
what? That's a great point. So over at the Royal Glenora, there was a tennis pro who represented China. She grew up in China with Yao Ming, and she was part of the state-run sport program. She was selected into tennis. She did not choose to play tennis. She said, if I would have chosen a sport, if I would have been allowed to choose, I would have played volleyball. I loved volleyball. My friends were playing volleyball, but I had these these statistics and parameters that showed I could probably succeed in tennis, and she did. The thing is, she comes over here, starts coaching, the kids in the Edmonton area. She goes, the thing I love about here is people are playing because they choose to play. Right? So there's a bit of a yin and yang there, right? But, tennis is as crazy as hockey. If the parents and families are all in, they are all in. We're talking second mortgages, 3 part-time jobs to pay for all this stuff that goes on. It's out of control. But it's interesting to see the different perspectives.
Your experience with baseball, do you pick up on that at all with the Americans talking about the Canadian kids?
Yeah. So this is you guys want to go this route here because this is a great conversation, actually. Because here's the thing. So our MLB program's just starting out. So I'm going down in April with Baseball Canada, the junior national team. We're going to be back at the Jays complex for the first time in a number of years. So it's going to be fantastic because, that Canadian connection is going to be great. But I'm going from there down to Puerto Rico for Major League Baseball.
You need someone like I'll be your assistant.
Yeah, we could.
Okay.
We
Former
could,
home of the Expos.
We could use one. So here's just an interesting thing. I'll try to keep this quick. So going over to Europe, right? When working for MLB, going over to Europe for game player development to introduce this side to preparing athletes so they can then become coachable. It was a totally different world over there because baseball is a 6th, 7th, 8th sport. Like you got up to Holland. There's pockets in Holland where baseball is massive, right? Probably ties to Curaçao and the Antilles there. So there's a drive there. Now, we were there for 12 years, and baseball is now flourishing in Europe. So I spent 16 years in Europe, all in Africa, just building my part of the game with some great people. Then they asked, "Hey Jeff, would you be interested in maybe helping out in Central America a bit more?" And I'm going, Central America, like they're baseball crazy there.
Yeah,
yeah, but the signings coming out of there we're dropping, like it's crazy. So we go there. Here's the interesting thing, fellas. They had a whole different number of problems they're dealing with, and year-round baseball was the biggest one. So I think our biggest accomplishment so far in the southern part of Central America, the U.S. and Central America, is getting the players to take 2 months off from baseball. The Canadian guys, the northern guys. So there's research. If you look at what happens with the northern players, where do the greatest hitters come from? If you look generally, they come from the northern, like the Mason-Dixon, the northern states and up. Where do the fewest injuries happen in baseball? Players that come from the north, and we call it the northern athletes are weather protected. They can't play year round. And so every team that actually understands this has scouts or teams of scouts looking to the north to find players. So Vauxhall Academy just had a scouting day. 12 scouts. Scouts came up to this little potato farming town that has 21 kids. 12 scouts from major league clubs actually took 4 or 5 days out of their schedule to come up and watch kids try out in a community hall.
Wow.
And I remember 4 or 5 years ago, I was there, and the Houston sent one of their veteran scouts up, and comes up with a cowboy hat and boots. He goes, "If you would have told me I would come up to Canada and see 3 legit prospects in February with 10 feet of snow around, I would have ate my hat," he said, with his accent. I'm not doing the accent justice, but he was blown away at what's going on up here. But listen, this whole weather, this whole northern hemisphere thing, it is a gift that we're just destroying with all these indoor facilities and all these programs now. So It's an interesting landscape, man. Like there's every region of the world has their unique challenges, and they're very different.
Well, the comparison I had always heard was that in Canada, because you can only play games a certain amount of time and everything else is drills and training, that there is a very similar sort of feel to Europeans in hockey, where it's less games, more drills, right? And so the first guy to tell me about it was the hitting coach for the Trappers when I first started doing broadcasting. Covering the Trappers, it was when Justin Morneau was in the system, and he was brought up to the Trappers from AA, basically to let him see a better contingent of pitchers, especially in practice. And the hitting coach, who was same sort of thing, just an old Oklahoma boy, was just kind of just like, his mechanics are perfect. And he goes, and it's because this guy spent every winter just hitting off a tee with his coach standing next to him, making corrections.
Yeah.
Right?
Wow.
Whereas kids playing in Texas and Oklahoma, their coach isn't standing next to them. They're actually taking swings.
Yeah.
They're playing games. And so it allows hitches and jerks and sort of different things end up into that swing plane. Whereas if all you're doing is just soft toss and hitting off tees, that coach is constantly correcting your angle.
I'm going to let you just quickly. This is the EST Hangout presented by White Claw, the hard seltzer that started the wave, made with refreshingly real flavors for their iconic taste. White Claw, the difference is clear. This is the EST Hangout live on iHeartRadio. Tune in, YouTube, as well as EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Wil Fraser, Tom Gazzola, Matt Iwanyk, Jeff Krushell with you here. You may continue. Sorry about that.
Yeah,
Need
sorry.
a reset for the audio. folk.
Love it. No, it's great. So listen, that's an interesting one because listen, when Morneau wasn't playing games, he's also probably maybe playing another sport. It'd be interesting to talk to him. Most of the Canadian guys played another sport up to about 15, even sometimes 16 years of age. Those kids down south, they're just playing baseball year round. They are damaged goods, man. It's not their fault. It's just the system they're in, right? And not only that, but Morneau is probably getting stronger and developing as an athlete and then going to the game. So the typical, and it's changing a bit now because all these indoor year-round facilities, but the typical attitude towards Canadian players or even players from the northern states were, okay, look, they're a little further behind in terms of their game sense, right? That's an easy fix in baseball. Trust me, just go down to one of those complexes. You'll see what I mean.
Yeah.
But in terms of strength and technique and the fundamentals, very, very well developed. And so there's this whole thing we have going on, and we're slowly losing it because of these unbelievable indoor facilities and these year-round. We're losing it, man, and it's a shame. It really is.
But it's not coming to hockey too a little bit.
Oh, no, for sure.
Yeah, it is.
Year-round sports is just coming to everything, and like in the States at the very least, like you're the star basketball player, pitcher, a center fielder, football player, like you did it all.
Yeah.
And now it seems like we're just moving in all sports away to just, it's almost you're going
hockey's
to
leading the way here.
sports.
Sorry to interrupt you, but hockey's leading the way here, Maddie, in that we're seeing that. We're decades into watching hockey talent erode in Canada, right? We went from 70% of the NHL to maybe 46
50,
now or 50 right
something,
now.
yeah.
Is that because of this or because of the rest of the world?
No, I think partly because of this. Partly because our kids started playing year round and they're losing some of that panache they get from playing these other sports in the summer. They're getting away from it. Now these other countries where they're actually playing soccer in the summer, they're not playing hockey. It's the inverse. They're coming over and they're great hockey players. Yeah. That part of it, not all of it, but part of it. So I think hockey is actually leading the charge there in Canada in the worst way possible.
It's interesting. Hockey is trying to make these cures, and it just leads to grumbling from established families that kids continue to go through the system because they keep whittling back when contact can be made. Like they keep making it later and later.
Yeah.
And the truth is the solution is actually right in front of them, and it was always in front of them. And it's, if you want your kid to learn how to take and give contact, learn it in a different sport first. That used to be what lacrosse was.
Yeah, man.
Spring lacrosse
Rugby,
was where
football.
kids learned how to take contact and then started applying it to their hockey. Whereas now they don't play spring lacrosse. They play spring and summer hockey. And meanwhile, their parents get more and more upset that they're not getting exposed to the rougher edges of hockey. And then all of a sudden they're going to turn 16 and get their lights knocked out because they've never taken big time contact before. Whereas the truth was, if you just put your kid into different sports where the contact came in those sports, but not at 30 kilometers an hour,
Right.
which is what it is in hockey, your kid would start to learn those sorts of things. So
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think that there is something out there that is being lost because we are specializing. And we've known this for 2 decades now, that you should not be specializing kids in any sport. But the problem is it's that sunk cost fallacy, right?
Yeah.
Like you just get locked in, like where, no, this is the plan. This is what the kid loves to do. And the coach says that they'll be better next year if they do this league, and this league in
Guys,
the offseason.
all you have to do is look to the pros. We often say just look to if you want to figure out what's going on, look to the pros, good and bad, of course. Right? There's a two sides to that coin. But listen, if you want to know if specialization is good for your young athlete, this is kind of what we're going to be talking about in that seminar, right? This is a big part of it. Just look at the numbers. Look at the last 3 NFL drafts. 28, 29, and 29 of the first round picks were multi-sport athletes going into their college years, for crying out loud, right? And some of them 2 sports or more.
Yeah.
You look at the NCAA, and I think we talked about this last time we were here, but the latest numbers on the NCAA that we have, 94.7% of all NCAA Division I players in every single sport were multi-sport athletes into 15 and 14 years of age. 15 for team, 14 for individual sports. And so basically what the numbers tell you is if you're not playing multiple sports, you don't have a chance. If your kid loves a sport and gets into a high performance pathway, we're not saying
You'd have
playing
to be McDavid type thing.
Right.
You'd have to be just above the rest.
You would
One of
have to
those,
be
right? Like you'd have to be
one
the
of
generational talent
exactly.
to get past this.
Exactly.
But even Wayne Gretzky played lacrosse.
And baseball.
Well, he's talked about
And
it.
baseball,
Wayne
right?
Gretzky's talked about that people, I think even Bobby Orr, come out a
Yeah.
lot over the last few years saying Kids should be playing multiple sports.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be just playing one sport.
Yeah.
Yeah. And here's the good thing about these indoor programs, these year-round programs. There's a huge opportunity for these programs that get it, right? These academies. And, so again, I think I've talked to you guys about this story before. I think we talked about this over at the other place when I was on with you guys one time. My young nephew was a soccer player, loved playing soccer. And then he and my daughter picked up freestyle skiing. We're up at Jasper, and we went up the lift. Classic story. Went up the lift with some of the parents of the freestyle team. And all of a sudden, we're on the freestyle team, right? Which turned out to be just a fantastic experience. But now Alex wants to ski in the winter and play summer soccer.
Yeah.
Beautiful, right?
Yeah.
His coach tells him that if he's not playing indoor, he can't play on the summer team.
That's ridiculous.
I went ballistic. My brother's a little more reserved, but I went freaking ballistic. I went to the coach and I said, I told my wife, I'm going to go look him in the eyes and I'm going to look into his freaking soul. And I'm going to let him know that this is just so wrong. And that's exactly what I did. I let him talk. And I don't know what the stare was. Maybe it's like some kind of new Marvel superhero. But I tell you, I rocked his soul, man. It was just, I was so angry. And this is the problem with sport. Are you kidding me? Part of that's financially driven, though.
Yeah.
And that's what really
100%.
pissed me off.
Yeah, you're alluding to
Sunk cost fallacy.
sunk cost fallacy. Yeah, that's a great way to describe it.
Fergie in the nasty chat and then Big Maple Sports Card. I will get to your question in a bit here, but he goes, your thoughts on this, you guys? Personal electronics are ruining development of young athletes. Look at all the empty ball diamonds in the summer and rinks in the winter. They're largely empty. Kids are busy gaming at home. Do you guys agree with something like that?
That's why kids are unhealthy. I don't know if it has anything to do with high-end athletics. Athletes are athletes. They get out there mainly because their parents have some sort of athletic touch to them, and they get pushed out. But are kids fatter and unhealthier now because of electronics? Absolutely. But that just includes going for a walk. Like the next time you're at a grocery store, just look at where people park. Like just those basic things. Like if you are in a life where anytime you go to park, you are trying to find the closest stall to the front door, that's part of the problem too. So
Unless it's minus 25.
that doesn't
That makes sense.
That doesn't have,
Today, if you're going to the grocery store, you're trying to be as close as possible.
Drop me off at the door, honey.
Yeah.
Right?
no, this is how you experience that it's not as bad as you think it is. But I mean,
Good
this
point,
is,
Frage.
I will say,
Frage, good point.
I don't know if I got ripped by this, but I've been mocked a little bit for it. I don't do drive-thrus.
yeah,
I always
right.
park walking.
Yeah, like the next
I
time you
don't
buy
care.
at Tim Hortons, like you'll see like the big reason why we're pretty unhealthy, and it's because we've eliminated as
We
much
go for
physical
convenience.
activity as we can. And so, yes, should kids be playing on empty ball diamonds? If they want to, sure. But
Yeah.
kids should also just be going for more walks. Like it doesn't even have to be athletics.
Yeah, in street hockey, I noticed
It's less.
I used to play street hockey all the time. And you could see, I'd go bike riding, and I'd see other kids around my neighborhood playing street hockey. I don't see that very often anymore. I know there's some here and there. And then another thing with the video game thing, like I love video games. I have since I was a little kid. I still play them. I finished up post game last night, and I went and I watched live streamers playing Fortnite because I knew I didn't want to play. I just want to go to sleep to something. And I was watching, and there was like young guys, and they put themselves on camera.
You put that on to go to sleep?
Yeah,
That
I
can't
it
be
worked.
healthy.
Like it was great.
That can't
I
be
need,
good
I
for
need
you.
background
But
noise
here's
to
the
fall asleep.
Esports
noise.
is massive now.
It's crazy.
There's so much
Yes.
money and there's
And-
so much interest
And
into
that's
it.
what I'm getting at. And I'm watching. I watched a couple of channels. There's like guys in their 30s and 40s. And I was like, oh, whatever. But you can make money. And then I'm watching like a 20-year-old kid, and like he's unbelievable at this game. And just like the way he spoke and like his mannerisms, I'm like, this guy's messed up. He's weird. But then I'm like, no, there's a lot of younger kids or younger adults that talk like this guy, sound like this guy. It's like everything. You're dust, bro. You're this, bro. And then he's like making these weird facial gestures into the camera and like sticking out his tongue. And I'm like, this is what we're becoming. This is the next generation. I guarantee you, he's not playing sports. But and everything he's doing is just normal to a 20-year-old. And I'm like, this is kind of messed up.
You're right. Sports used to be a great way to socialize.
Yes.
Like just a reason to get together with other kids your age. And now they have a different way to do that. It's not that kids liked playing sports more. before. It's that it was the only way to do something social, and now they have a different outlet for that socializing.
Yeah.
And
It's not good,
no,
but like,
I couldn't
but
even
it's also
understand his
completely
English.
predictable.
different. I'd
It's
say it's
different.
different. Like you are still socializing
Yeah.
while playing video games.
The social part can be
You're
great, I
chatting
think.
with someone.
Yeah,
You've got they've got their headsets on. They're having their conversations.
not
There's
really. I've
there's
gone-
lifelong friends that are being made now online.
I've gone through this with 2 teenage boys, and the compulsion to do nothing and just be on your electronics and say that you're socializing is not the same. And so, like, there's a rule in my house that you need to have plans to be spending time with at least one other human being once a week for more than an hour.
Yeah.
And it needs, and so like
School doesn't count.
The check-in happens usually around Wednesday with my son, where it's kind of like, so what's the plan? And it'll be usually okay, Friday after school or Saturday, we're gonna go see a movie together, or we're gonna play video games, but we're all gonna be in the same room together playing that video game. And that's all I want for them, is they need to be within physical proximity to another human being. Because yeah, you can play video games online, but you don't have that sort of informal either teasing or roughhousing or
trash talk
or,
like this.
or talking about something that's bothering you
Yeah.
or all that sort of thing. Like, you're not gonna on a Twitch stream start talking about that you've been feeling depressed lately, like that
True.
you're playing your
I think
video
some
game.
do.
Well, some do,
Like
but
that, because they build this community where they have their friends and they all game
some
together and
do,
they put the headset on the
but
top.
they don't also then have a friend who actually puts a hand on them,
Yeah,
and gives
or-
them that physical touch
or-
and says, "I'm here."
Or
right?
going to the same school and say, "Hey man, that guy's that dude down, in locker 10, he's a prick."
Yeah.
Yeah, he is a prick. You're right, he is a prick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That kind
yeah.
of stuff doesn't happen online. So my nephew again, I have 3 daughters, so I live, he's like my adopted son, my brother's, but he's a gamer too. Got really, really good. I think Fortnite was his game, but got ranked and he talking to Korean teams and stuff,
Oh, wow.
really super good.
Yeah.
And his best friend, my brother had the same kind of issues. His best friend is one of his teammates on his Fortnite team, or I think Call of Duty or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Anyway, Jade's going like, so hold on, your best friend is somebody you've never met before? And he was, and this is my brother said, okay, no, look, it's different. The world's different now. So look, I just got to figure out a way. So my brother and his wife contacted his parents down in Texas. They lived in Austin, Texas. Said, hey, look, our sons are playing together. They're best buddies. Let's get them together this summer.
Yep.
So they flew him up. He came up here. They took him to Banff, Jasper. Boom. They hung out, had a great time. They played their games. And then Alex went down there, and now Alex is there now, and they got a. So
Cool.
that has to happen, though, Fraser. You
have to deepen your relationship.
That's a good point.
Right? Like, it can't just be a voice in a headset.
Yeah.
It needs to be a physical person that you have spent time in the same place with.
Although we're just so connected and talking to anyone around the world is so easy. And this is kind of where things are transitioning.
Yeah,
Right?
it's
Your
different
friends
times.
don't have to be proximity to you. They don't have to be your neighbors.
Listen, Iwanyk,
You
you
could be
need
further.
real friends.
Trust me, Will.
We've been
I'll say
having this
I'll say
discussion for 2 decades now.
Don't worry.
You need to
Host
spend
a
time with
host a
other
dinner
humans.
party
I'll
in
say
the
this.
palace in the sky, man.
Yeah.
It
that's
doesn't
right.
matter
I want an
online,
invite.
online or personally. No one's going to be my friend ever.
Like,
It's all going to be the same.
Thank
I'm going
God
to piss off
Tommy
everyone.
moved into your
Yeah.
building. It's almost
Everyone.
like you have a roommate.
Yeah,
now.
no.
Almost.
Almost.
Everyone's going to be mad at me. Everyone's going to hate me, whether it's around the world or locally in person.
Yeah.
It's all the same. Way.
I'll just
it's
say
all
this.
the same.
If you want to end up like Matthew Iwanyk, you're absolutely right. Never make any real friends in person.
We get
Or online. I don't make it online either.
We get condo notifications about our
Yeah, you
building,
worked
and I'll
on
be
the
like,
AGM, by the way.
I did not go to the AGM. Yes, the digital online AGM. But and I'll be like, did you see this? Did you see that? He's like, no, I delete those, and I'm like,
Yeah.
It's all complaining.
I know it is.
I've been in that condo enough, and it's never important.
Sometimes someone needs you more than you need them. And maybe that's your relationship.
Well, of course he went to the digital AGM, so he'll fill me on what everything I missed. So.
Next time I'm taking your proxy. You're going to give me your proxy so I get an extra vote.
Okay, sounds good.
Slowly
Matthew's
build
gonna
up.
rule the building here.
Slowly build it up.
He's going for.
I'm surprised he's not on the condo board already.
Actually, last year I had a chance. They were just looking for anyone because we didn't have enough. And I just I don't have the
How
time
did
for
you
this.
not do that?
Because I don't have the time. No.
Imagine the
dealing with it.
power you could yield.
I know.
He loves
That
the
is
power.
that is the
Here's the problem.
easiest lie you've ever told.
I didn't
in your
wanna
life.
deal with it.
I
I just
don't have the time. Oh, between
didn't
your
wanna deal
wife
with
and
it.
kids, you're right. You're way too busy right now.
I didn't want to deal with it, and I so I was just
There,
like,
that would be the
"No,
truthful
and I'm busy."
statement.
At the time,
I'll
I was busy
nominate
with
you.
the old place, and I'm busy here.
I'll
I don't have
nominate
time
you.
when I'm here. I had to come in on Saturday
Oh
to catch
my
up on work. I'm
goodness.
behind. There's just so much happening.
He was
We've
very
got
Maybe
pleasant
if you
on Saturday.
didn't,
We've got the Estes
maybe
to
if
plan,
you didn't
Will.
sleep 11 hours every night, you could squeeze in a few more
I'm sorry.
activities.
I was up for 4:30 today.
Oh,
So
and we can tell.
yeah. I'm good. Don't worry. If I took
You are
over,
good, man.
if I took over the condo board, there's going to be some sort of corruption I'm going to do. It's going to get me in trouble. I just know it. Like
I
we
love
don't
it.
need to get into
Would you
that.
actually get to know the concierges and their names? You just blow by them. I talk to them
I
all
wait.
the time.
If I say hi, but I'm barely down there. Like it's.
Jay, Mohammed.
I'm basically down there like every Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you are a man.
'Cause I
of
go
the
to my
people,
car.
aren't you? Yeah.
I don't know.
I like making friends.
Yeah.
Just slipping 20s, like just yeah.
That's how I buy
I'll
them
just say I'm
too.
Tommy's
yeah.
friend, and we'll be all good. I know Tommy.
There you go.
I'll just throw your name around now.
Great.
I want to get to this message in the nasty chat. You could also text 780-218-9999 in the Parish Jewelers inbox. This is the EST Hangout presented by White Claw. Wil Fraser, Jeff Krushell with us here. Tom Gazzola, Iwanyk as well on iHeartRadio, TuneIn, YouTube, as well as EdmontonSportsTalk.com. This one's specifically for you, Will. Or not Will, Jeff. You're Will. You're Jeff. I'm
All right.
talking to Jeff.
Okay.
From Big Maple Sports Card, who is one player, Jeff, that you've worked with over the years who showed you something that you hadn't seen in terms of approach of the game or strength and conditioning?
I know the answer to that.
So someone who was
Bartolo
surprised
Colon.
you in a way that they approach the game or strength and conditioning.
A surprise. I know the answer to this.
Who what?
Raul Mondesi.
Oh, Mondi.
What was his deal, Krusher?
Mondi.
He's out of his mind.
Oh,
Yeah. Unfortunately, he's in jail right now.
Yeah.
Like it's
boy.
unfortunate.
Is he?
He was such a
He was
great
so
player.
good.
Yeah, he was so good. Like so good. I got some great stories. Oh my
Raul
goodness. Oh, that is
Mondesi.
actually a very good question. Who surprised me?
What happened? Why is he in jail?
yeah.
Weren't you surprised when
Oh, he was sentenced to 8 years in prison on corruption charges
Yeah.
rising from his mayoral
Yeah.
tenure.
Okay.
See, this is what will happen when I'm in the condo board. I
Yeah.
will somehow have some sort of corruption, and I'll be something will happen. to me.
Yikes.
Yeah.
I know
Wasn't the
myself.
He made
story
so much
he
money.
came in late and opened his locker and all of his
Ah.
paychecks just spilled out of them and like you were helping him clean up and
Yeah,
you're like
I don't like
these
seeing
are
those.
uncashed like checks for hundreds of thousands
Wow.
of dollars.
Millions.
It could be in a
Millions.
good way
All over
of
the
how
flow.
they approach their game, how they went
Just
about.
keep it simple. No, he kept it simple.
But for
Yeah.
for this question, like it could be somebody who like surprised you in how
Yeah.
how focused they were on one
No,
element. Or
I
something.
think when I first got to the big leagues, watching Roger Clemens work was just that's what it takes right there. And of course, he had his mentors when he was coming up, right? That had the same type of work ethic. But that was probably a game changer for me in terms of this is what it takes, right? Because he totally changed. I think Clemens was one of those guys early on in that era that changed the approach to the game. And then, of course, look who came afterwards. We had Carpenter, Halliday, Escobar, who all fell in the... Pat Henkin was right there at that time, who was a workhorse. So that would be my answer right there. And then, of course, the whole story of Clemens unwinds with the PED scandals and the big Mitchell report. That was a disaster, and that was right under my. I was swamped in the minor leagues when that stuff was going on. But when McNamee, the head strength coach for the Blue Jays, went with Clemens to New York,
Bit of a tip off.
exactly. Everybody's going, oh, that's quite bizarre, because that was kind of the new era of these guys bringing in their own guys,
Right.
And that's when I moved up to the big leagues, which was great for me, great timing, because a lot of the guys that I'd worked with were there. But that would be the one. There's others though, like even just working with the Elks, the Eskimos back in the day. Ricky Ray was a fun guy to work with, because he'd just been a natural talent, but he'd figure out a way to be great. But when we started working together, I just brought in some of the athlete side that I think really helped him out. Patrick Kabongo, though, that offensive line, I loved it.
He took the worst holding penalties at the most inopportune times. I'm sorry.
No,
He
did.
also ran out there pumping his fist.
Yeah.
And he knew it was going to be a good series when he'd go 3 pumps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if he did one, you're like, oh, he's not feeling it.
Yeah.
Sorry, Krusher.
No, but he's a guy too that just had just so much potential. Like he was walking on his just raw talent.
Yeah.
But then when the game sort of caught up to him, he's going, okay, man, I got to get good. And when we started working together, I get a call. I said, Patrick, listen, I'll help you, man. Just be consistent, brother. That's all you need. You could be a great freaking player. You already are. And so it was one off season. He goes, Jeff, sorry, I'm going to miss a workout. I said, Pat, what's happening, man? He goes, I got my grandma's funeral. I'm going to miss. Take care of family, man. He's been consistent. And then he got an opportunity to go down and play in the NFL that he turned down. Like it was a unguaranteed contract. I can't remember what team, but he created that opportunity for himself with just a mindset. So yeah, there's been a bunch of great players, but I think Clemens for me was the one guy that in pro sports where I go, okay, that's what this is all about.
How much of a... What's your ratio between great program and great player who buys in? Like, what's more important to the success of a program? Because my example would be speed skating. I am a very casual speed skating fan. When Canada is doing well, I tune in. And when they aren't, I tune out. And it seems like they just run in that sort of hothouse effect that, like, if they've got an elite level person who buys into the training system and everything, then the next 5 guys underneath him or her buy in as well.
Yeah.
And the team just starts to steamroll competition from there. Whereas if they don't have that truly great individual who doesn't buy in, they're kind of a mediocre group. They're kind of in search of their next one. Is that what you find as well, that it can't just be a great program? You also have to have a great player who buys into that great program.
Yeah, you got to have the leadership buying in, right? And a lot of the problem with that is, I mean, it's a tough one for them too, because it's such a transient, sport's so transient now, not on the Olympic side, but from the professional side. So you got all these, you go from the Yankees to the Dodgers. Incredibly different programming, incredibly different approach to programming, right? And through the organization as well. So the players are now sort of in protection mode too. They can look, this is what's worked for me. And teams are starting to adapt too. Now, especially with our guys, when they go to teams, I make a point of calling either the director of player development or whether it's the head trainer or whatever, say, look, this is what we've been doing. This is why we've been doing it. And for the most part, they accommodate and will build on the program eventually, right? So, but it's so true. Like going up to the big leagues for me was a tough one. I didn't say, this is what we're doing. I said, hey guys, I'm here to help. The minor league guys knew me, so they were all in already. But it took me 3 or 4 months before the guy said, okay, this guy is here to help. And it was before the first All-Star break, the guys were going, okay, listen, what do you want me to do today? And I'm going, score, fun. But it's a serious deal though, right? These guys basically take their careers and they go, okay, and I'm not exaggerating. This is the way I looked at it. They're putting their trust in your hands. It's a huge responsibility, man, beyond the organization, right? For the organization, for sure, but for that player and his family. I took it very seriously, and I understood why guys were a little standoffish, especially guys who've had success, to make changes to become even more successful. Some of the guys couldn't do that, Fraser. Like, you know what I mean, guys?
Yeah, absolutely.
So
interesting.
Yeah, there's a balance. You need the veterans buying in for sure.
Crush, I'm a little bit surprised you're not in spring training gear right now, by the way.
Oh, no, trust me, I get the itch still. It's been a long time, but I get the itch, man, especially with weather like this. But spring training is just so fantastic, guys. I can't even tell you. The pressure's on, though, because it's serious stuff. It's not like instructional league, right, where it's more development. This is serious stuff. There's pink slips in lockers right now, right? Yeah. It's tough, but for the majority, guys are battling for jobs.
We need to take EST to Arizona next year for a week to do spring training.
Oh no, for sure.
Yeah,
do it.
Should.
Worth it. Then jump around ball diamonds.
Yeah.
Just go enjoy baseball.
It's so easy to bounce around there.
Oh, they're all just right there.
It's so great.
Cactus, hey, you wouldn't do.
I like Arizona. I love the
really.
That heat.
I would have thought.
I love that.
Cactus
with how
League's
close
awesome.
the Jays and the Yankees are in Florida, that would have been
They're right there.
Yeah.
Plus,
I just love the city of Phoenix.
Yeah.
the golf is
Just being around
spectacular.
Yeah.
St. Pete Beach, Clearwater Beach, 2 of the top beaches in the world are right there, and fun.
Are you talking Florida?
Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm talking Florida, man.
Great golf in Arizona
Grapefruit
still.
is what I'd like to do. I'd like to do a month of just grapefruit and just tootle around and go and see each team get it. Basically, you watch an afternoon game and then have your evening to yourself.
Yeah, it's phrased like it's. Have you been?
No,
It's
no.
cool. I've been to both. Both have their perks, but I love
I don't
it.
think they
I just
picked a
love
bad
the
spot.
vibe. And you're like, and they're competing for jobs. They've got pink slips, and then at the same time, you're there as a fan, as a casual observer, and it's just awesome. The pace, the feel, I love it. I love it.
I'll watch your Yankees. You can watch my Cubs.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then at night, I'm going to go watch the Suns play.
Yeah,
I've been to the Cubbies facility in
that's a nice one.
in Goodyear, I think it is, if I'm not
Dodgers, I
mistaken.
drove by there when I was in Arizona last year. Just looked amazing. Just, It's just incredible. Like
The
all of that.
Dodgers.
So they have to win this year, don't they?
Yeah, they have to.
Like there's no
They have to.
Who'd they
everything
get?
else.
Do they already have buyer's remorse?
For who? Otani?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, because he's
He
already
already hit a home run in his first
No,
spring
but like
training
he's
debut.
already like his health is already a question
But they knew
mark.
that.
Yes.
They knew the pitching wasn't going to be there this year.
Yeah.
He'll be there for hitting, and then the year after he's going to be there for pitching. They got Yamamoto to pitch.
I think they paid for his contract selling shirts.
Yeah.
over there.
No. Like it'll
totally
It'll probably pay
marketing
for a
deal.
big chunk of it. Absolutely.
They just have to go win the World Series. Like, there's nothing less.
No.
This is, you put all this together, you have to win.
They're
There's
our
no
number one team to
excuses.
watch this year, obviously.
Yeah.
For sure. Mets are a close number 2.
I want to get into one of the reasons we have here, Jeff, beyond that we love you, is that next Tuesday, you are having your first seminar, the Parents Playbook, 7 through 9 o'clock at the Advantage Sport Medicine and Physio South Edmonton. Why don't you let us know a little more about the Parents Playbook?
Yeah. Okay, guys. So, Fraser, you would probably appreciate this. So, just in all my travels, so we focus on our professional athletes, right? In all sports. Like it's a fantastic place to be. But they're well taken care of. And when we start looking at, and baseball is probably the biggest influence on me here, when we start looking at the injury rates in professional baseball, these guys are damaged goods, as we talked about today, before they even sign their contracts. So where do we go to make a difference? Well, I've been invited down to a number of teams to do like just assessments of their programs. They're all trying to figure, okay, we do MRIs, we do screening, we do everything, and yet our guys are still breaking. So are we missing something? A lot of it is recovery and balance and volume management and intensity management, right? But for the most part, just even though the players will appear healthy, the quality of the tissues just aren't there, especially for the throwing motion, right? So I'm just thinking, I was talking to my wife one day, I said, how in the world do we turn this around? Coaches, number one, youth coaches for sure. Canada is one of the leaders in the world for that. But the parents as well. And I'm not talking, this isn't about ethics for parents. This is about teaching parents about just the no BS version of athlete development. Things we've talked about today about multi-sports. And if you're not multi-sport, it's not the end of the world to be specialized. You just have to treat it right? So it's a 2-hour program just educating parents on, okay, if you have a young athlete that loves sport, here's what you need to be thinking about to make informed decisions. And we have our top 5 priorities for athlete development at every single level. And it starts off like this: rest, recovery, sleep, number 1. We talk about that. Technology is a huge conversation there in these days. Number 2 is nutrition, hydration. We've heard it forever, but knowing what we know now about the artificial sweeteners and the sugars and everything else that's going on around our kids, it's a very important conversation. It's number 2 for sure. Number 3 is posture, range of motion around the joints. And a lot of that's overuse and one-sidedness. If you're a hockey player that shoots left, you would not believe the imbalances, posture and muscular imbalances in that player as opposed to a guy that shoots right. The asymmetries in a hockey player are huge. Curlers are great. Watching the Briar right now, I worked with the Furby guys for years. Yeah. They were some of the most they were as lopsided as our professional pitchers. Just crazy, right? But that stuff needs to be worked on at a proper age because sport's getting so organized now, right? And then number 3 is teaching movement. And then number 5 is the brain game, right? And it's sort of our rover, our utility man. And it's the most recent addition. But, if a player or youth athlete has anxiety, sleep doesn't matter because they're not getting sleep. So all of a sudden the brain game becomes number 1. So the whole seminar is just designed to help parents understand what athlete development looks like in this day and age. Because look, we talk about, you guys were in the morning show, we're talking about the money in sport, right? Youth sport trumps any professional sport in terms of industry revenue generation. It's a $20 billion business, and it's only getting bigger. And like my nephew, who was told he couldn't, play the summer game because if he wanted to ski in the winter, that wasn't about losing a player. It's about losing that winter revenue. That revenue is now not going to my soccer program. That revenue is going to the ski hill, to those coaches. That's more what it was about. And that's what pissed me off. So helping parents understand the landscape and the developmental pathway. Take some pressure off, but make good decisions. That's what it's about.
More details just on your website?
Yeah,
or?
just go to the website. You can just click. It's just to learn with Jeff. All the information's on there. We've got a few spots left, and then we're going to be doing another one in May.
I'm just writing a tweet, so we'll get that.
We're going to be done.
You've never done this either.
I've never done
You've
a lot.
wanted to do this for a while.
Yes, I really have. And again, this one keys in on the parents. I've always wanted to just talk with coaches and create coachable players, because a lot of what we're finding too is the coaches that are out there, they're great coaches, regardless of sport, great hockey coaches in Canada, right?
Yeah.
But they don't necessarily understand what it takes to develop hockey player or athletes to become great hockey players. So what if we talk to the coaches about creating coachable players? Again, I think, Fraser, you talked about the guys in Europe, right? They're spending so much time doing drills and just fundamentals. That's why they turn out to be great players. The game... Almost every sport out there has diminishing returns, right? They almost take away more than they give back, which means in your warm up, if you only have a team for 2 times a week for 90 minutes, then you play games. In those 90 minutes, you have to address preparation for the game, if for no other reason to offset the one-sidedness of whatever sport it is. Baseball, golf, tennis, hockey, football, whatever it is. That warm-up period, I think, in youth sport is one of the most undervalued opportunities in the developmental pathway. And we talk about that, right? So there's so many things. It started with coaches, but now I'm so focused on parents, just helping parents, because the other thing is working with some of the player agents guys, sitting down and looking at these schedules of these 14, 15, 16-year-olds, like with school, all the training, all the coaching, and the money. Like, I'll just tell you a quick story here, and this will be the last thing on it. And this is what's really inspiring this conversation. We sat down with this beautiful family. They had a kid that loved hockey. I said, can we just look at what an average week looks like? This kid with school and a part-time job, academy, playing on 2 teams, was doing more than we would ever allow a professional athlete to do. And youth athletes need more rest and recovery than our pro guys. So we cut everything up. Eliminated so much stuff. We made a long-term plan. Wound up saving, and over the course of that summer, the 4 months, we saved the family $8,000. The kid was going nuts. I said, pick up a guitar or start taking photos. And I think he started playing guitar. But he was going nuts, man. I said, no. And then all of a sudden, guess what? He's healthy. And guess what? He's feeling great. And guess what? Now his coaches are going, hey, where's this kid come from? Guess what? He just touched the ice in the NHL last year. That would have never freaking happened had that intervention. I can't say that for sure. I believe that would have never happened had we not intervened years and years before.
Krusher, the business thing is just like struck me, because when you said I'm taking away from this guy, putting my nephew into the soccer program because now the skiing instructors and the hill is getting the money, that for whatever reason I was just like, damn, these guys are not shysters, but they're business guys, and
Listen,
I forget about that. And I think that's something that undercuts our athletes.
As soon as these guys started paying their mortgages and their kids' college tuitions, based on their academies and the programs they're running, sport was screwed. It was the end of youth sport as we knew it. Because now it's an industry. It generated over $20 billion a year, more than any of the pro sports.
Damn.
And it's only escalating. So parents need, and it's not necessarily bad, you guys. There are good, it's changing, right? There's good things in there. Parents just need to be informed. I'm not saying I know it all, but listen, man, I've been around the block. And listen, we're so focused on our pro guys. That's not where we should be focusing. We need to get to our youth. The only way to do that is to educate parents and coaches, because we're never going to be able to influence that big pool just to keep them healthy. and engaged in sport. Whether they pursue a high performance pathway, that would be the joy, is if the kid actually falls in love with the sport and pursues a high performance pathway. Let's see if they can get to college. And one thing we say, we preface this with everything. Every athlete, whether he's a 10-year vet or whether it's a young family coming in, we don't know how good you can become. We don't until you go through the process. Let's just figure out what that process is for you and you and you and you.
Is the 80-20 rule, is that universal to basically all sorts? I'm
What's the
coming
80-20
from
rule?
So I'm coming from it as this midlife sort of, I think I'm a runner, right? So for the last year, I've been developing my running technique, and of course you start doing deep dives. And the one piece of advice that just keeps coming back is called the 80-20 rule, which is when you set up a week of how you want to train, 80% of it has to be in what's called zone 2, which is your heart rate is about 80% of your maximum, 75%, and you don't exceed it. Like, you have to stay in that zone. And basically, so they call it conversational pace. You should be able to have a conversation while you're doing it. And then the 20% is actually high intensity, where you bring your heart rate up to just below max and actually really push. And so I'm just wondering, is that kind of a universal rule
There's
when it
so
comes
much
to training?
Like, if we had a whiteboard right now, we could do an unbelievable talk about this 80-20 rule. Yeah, it's there. It's like one of those things in this universe. Like, it's like 45 degrees.
Yeah.
You know, that there's something magical about that 45 degrees. If we look at sprint angles, throwing angles, just in this universe, 45 degrees is just crazy.
Yeah.
The 80-20 rule applies, and it shows up so many times. Here's the thing, though. Like, even with our runners, we know there's a point of diminishing return, right?
Yep.
In terms of volume and distance and intensity. There's a point where you go where the gains aren't worth the risk of overtraining. So that's kind
Except for the freaks.
right.
Except for the freak, which is the tragedy of you guys probably didn't cover it at all, but Kelvin Kiptum was the guy who won the Chicago Marathon this past year at the age of 26, I want to say. He's in and around there. It was only his third ever marathon, set the world record. He was 30 seconds off breaking the 2-hour barrier for the marathon, which is over 40 kilometers.
Wow.
And he just recently died in a car accident.
Yeah.
But he was one of those freaks where they set up what his running week was, and it was hundreds of miles that this guy was pounding out on a weekly basis.
Yeah,
but you're right. There is for the average athlete, there is a point of diminishing
and for the year-round, for parents out there, for the year-round athlete, though, even with the runners, there has to be a point where running's not the priority. Preparing to be a runner has to be the priority.
Yeah.
Just like off-season for our hockey players or our baseball players or our football guys, right? You have to take the time to prepare for the sport. And we take every one of our athletes in the off-season down to their skeletons. We build them inside out, back up, and then we start performance training to take them to the next level for the next round.
This is where AI is going to become incredible, isn't it?
It's unlimited. I cannot
In
wait.
a good way?
Yeah, in a good. So, like, I don't own a Garmin watch. I don't have that kind of money. I will eventually upgrade to a Garmin watch.
Yeah.
Garmin has an AI where it will build custom plans for you based upon your biometrics that you're supplying to it. So,
Yeah, but now the company has my biometrics.
yeah, well, no, but like so
Data. I want to own my
basically,
data.
like,
I can own my data.
it observes
build me.
your heart rate while you're working out, but more importantly, when you're not working out, you're sleeping and all of that. And so, like, I can go to my Garmin watch and say, I want to shave a minute off of my 5K time, and it will build a 30-day to 60-day program.
That's what I was going to say.
Where it not only does it give you the program, but it then alters the program based upon your training as you progress.
Damn.
And so all of a sudden you'll wake up one day and your watch will be like, today's a rest day. You've been working too hard. You didn't get enough sleep. Today's you're shutting it down.
Yeah.
And then you'll wake up the next day and it'll be like, actually, we're going to go 10 minutes longer at this rate of speed and what have you. And like the results are phenomenal. Like, from amateur runners like myself all the way to the pros, people are shaving minutes off their times based upon just this AI coaching
For sure.
that's going
And
on.
the long-term planning is good, where the real sexy stuff's going to happen, man. Like, that's where I think there's going to be huge, because we've just never been able to crush analytics like that before.
Well, it's basically it's having a coach with his fingers on your neck 24 hours a day, monitoring what are your vitals and how can we then take what we know of your vitals right now and apply it to your training.
And stupid accuracy.
Yeah.
Like incredible accuracy.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to be,
insane.
we're going to be pushed. Human performance is going to be moving up across the board here. We have to be prepared for it.
They're going to start cloning us with all this stuff. They're going to take us over. I don't like this.
I
They're
hope
gonna,
so.
If you say no to the coach, it's going to just shock you.
Well,
I don't like the way this is
I
going.
just had that discussion with my kid. He's got like a Google speaker in his room that wakes him up in the morning and stuff like that. And it'll be like, "Good morning, David. This is your whatever. This is what the temperature is." And then it starts playing music. And so like he'll groggily get up and go and use the bathroom, and then come in. And I heard him the other morning go, "Google, shut up!" And like it turned the music off, and I was just like, that's going to be your boss someday. I would start using please and thank yous if I were you. Like, Google's going to have a memory of how you treated it.
Yes, so noted. So noted. I was just going to say, exactly. That's on you. Hey, that's in your record, man.
That's funny.
Oh, crazy.
There's the social interaction with another bean.
Yeah, there you
exactly.
go.
That's what you get. Parents Playbook, March 12th, which is next week, 7th through 9. Live event with Jeff Krushell, Advantage Sport Medicine and Physio South Edmonton. I've just posted also on the EST Twitter account a little graphic that he's built for that if you want more information and to go arm yourself with more information that Jeff doesn't have time to give here throughout the Hangout. So join him live and in person.
Thanks,
and
Matty.
He'll get you. You'll just get fired up afterwards.
Yeah.
Like at 9 o'clock, you'll leave there all pumped up. You won't be ready for bed.
Eden
After talking to him for 2 hours, you're just going to be fired up, ready to go. And
Eden just texted and said, "How did you guys get Krusher for Hangouts? What I get? I'm about ready to run through a wall listening to him talk about youth training, and I don't have a kid."
Guys, I've just seen so many unbelievable things just in sports. So this is my 30th year. I just got my certification for the
30
NSCA.
years.
So I have been certified as a strength and conditioning specialist since 94. So this is my 30th year. So I
Nice.
got my little certification. Hey, Jeff, congrats, 30 years. Because there's not many of us, 30 years, right? And I'm going, 30 freaking years? What? Like, I'm going, but the things you see, you accumulate things over the years, right? Just like any other profession.
Yeah.
And I've just been like lightning in a bottle, like the whole baseball thing, the Olympic Center, the international side.
If you could travel back 30 years in time, would you get into a fist fight with your former self about how wrong he was?
Yeah, there's no doubt. And that's what I say. If I'd only known, but I even tell some of my players, like when I got into the minor leagues, look, I told you guys this before. I was the second full-time minor league strength coach in the history of baseball. Yeah. That part of sport didn't exist. Weight rooms were literally banned in some organizations when I was being hired as a perform strength coach. And so we had to overcome this. That being said, it was a blank slate. We got to build this program. And it's actually a cool story. One day I'll tell you guys over a beer. I'd love to tell you guys a story just because you learn these things, right?
We like beer.
Yeah. And it's a good story over a good beer too. But I even tell some of the players, like I still stay in touch with a lot of the guys, just good dudes, right? Even from the minor leagues. I said, man, oh man, if I'd known then what I know now, you could have been so much better.
Yeah.
But it's so true. And I do feel bad legitimately, but you only know what you know, right? And in the industry's advanced.
I
right?
think back to 2001 when I was covering the Trappers. They were Minnesota Twins property then. Johan Santana had come through town, and it was just lights out. Like I remember watching scouts hitting their radar guns because he was throwing a 72 mile per hour changeup and then followed it up with a 92 mile per hour fastball. And there was you could not tell from his arm motion what it was.
Right.
And so they were just like, well, 20, that's ridiculous to have that kind of a change. Anyways, they had a guy by the name of Matthew Lecroy who was their DH, just a big hoss
I remember him.
from South Carolina. And I still remember going in, he went 0 for 4 on the day. And I went in and it's just like, well, Matthew, tough day at the plate. He goes, yeah, I'm starting to think I shouldn't have had that whole bag of cool Doritos before the game. And I just like, when I think back on that to what athletes are like now with their diet, like just a completely different
not that
environment.
long ago.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And he had a good MLB career too.
Yeah.
Like Matt
Yeah,
LaCroix, I remember
man,
him.
I just shouldn't have had that whole bag of. It was a big one too. Like, and he just like
Clubby
Brought me
hooked him
down
up.
a bit. Brought me down a bit. Oh, great story.
long
Oh,
season.
man.
You got to splurge.
yeah,
every so often.
exactly. Yeah.
This is the season. What was it? May through September.
Yeah.
You got to find
Yeah.
some time for the chips.
Yeah.
That's funny. Actually, okay, speaking of Justin Morneau, the Trappers connection, and you're talking Morneau was probably, I think he did play some hockey because I remember Ryan Smith invited us to go to a Twins game, and Morneau invited us down to watch BP, hang out. It was amazing. So we go down there, and JJ Bear was the Oilers PR guy at the time, and we're sitting there watching BP, and Morneau is talking to Jack Michaels and I, and JJ's on the other side. And Morneau goes, JJ, I need some new Oilers gear because my stuff's all worn out. I wear it all the time. JJ's like, no problem. Just give me some Twins gear. He's like, go see the clubbies. I'll take care of you. So we got like hooked up with all this stuff.
I love it.
But it was amazing. We walked through the locker room, and it's like 20 minutes to first pitch. And I accidentally pushed the door too hard to the main locker room, and I almost smoked Joe Mauer in the face because his locker was right around the corner.
That's right.
And he's stuffing his mouth with a plate of pasta.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, sorry, man. He's like, it's okay. And I'm like, what's going on? These guys, like the anthem singers getting ready to go out there, and they're like just in their pants and their undershirts. And there's a poker game happening, and guys are eating burgers.
If you've watched Bull Durham, that's it, man. That's the minor leagues.
And then one guy's like, let's go. And then okay, we're getting ready.
They loved Edmonton, by the way. The players loved. The organizations didn't love it because it was so cold in March and April. Like they were not big fans of the temperature. They were, oh, it's too cold for them to throw. And I mean, it's not true, but that's how they thought.
Yeah.
But the players,
they loved
they would always just be like, have you ever been to Albuquerque? And I was just like, no, man. He's like, yeah, everything's closed at 8 at night.
If you think about the players that have gone through that stadium, listen, go to Medicine Hat and just look at their wall.
Yes.
The players that have gone through Medicine Hat, come on, man, just so fantastic.
Yeah, even Lethbridge had, I think, the Jays single A team.
Yeah,
there for
I believe so.
Yeah, there was some good baseball players that came through this town.
You're in a big city. You're in AAA, probably making half decent money. I know not all of them did, but. You get lost in the shuffle here, right? Nobody really knows you.
Well, that
would have been
was
great.
just it. But like they just said the fact that we can play a ball game and then go out and have time together as a team, and it's not like they were telling me they're like in places like Albuquerque and even Tacoma, even though you're right next to Seattle, you're not going into Seattle,
right?
Even Tacoma, it's like the only place to get a meal was the strip club. Like that, he goes, and none of us are like teetotalers, but dude, you can only go to so many strip clubs and eat bad smorgasbord before you just like they just wanted an Earl's. They just wanted to be able to go and have a decent meal, one beer, and then go to bed for the night. And and even the visiting teams used to put Edmonton and Calgary on the map because the stadium's right downtown. The hotel was right there. Yep. You could go out, you didn't have to go crazy, just have a nice time. Yeah, it's still missed to this day. This town should still be a AAA town.
Yeah. But me and Mooner, they'll talk about the Riverhawks, and we go, like, they have probably a pretty good time recruiting players for the summer. If you're looking to play summer ball, you got to come up to Edmonton, packed stadium.
Oh, yeah.
They're
beautiful
18, 19-year-olds, and you say you could come drink.
Sylvan Lake.
At a lot cheaper, right?
Sylvan Lake's a pretty good draw, too.
Absolutely. But it's one like you got... Like Alberta has a nice little advantage with that.
Western
Drinking age is 21.
Like
come up here if you're an 18, 19-year-old. Drink. Weed is legal. And play in front of 5,000 people.
That used to be the Alaska League. Alaska used to, but the problem with the Alaska League, it goes to your point of overtraining. They would play doubleheaders. Every day would be a doubleheader day because they could play until 2 a.m. And so it was just a lot of baseball packed into a small amount of time.
Don't forget daylight savings time coming up this upcoming weekend. Yeah, just gonna get that out there. So
we lose an hour.
Spring ahead.
Spring ahead. So we lose an hour of sleep, but it's lights out longer.
Oh, okay.
In the day. So sunset will be like 7:30 or something like that on Sunday night. It's gonna be wonderful. Means spring's here.
Yeah, you and your walks in nature.
I love going to the River Valley. I love walking down there, running down. I actually do. Or
Eric
there are
does
sometimes
too,
me and Eric. I've gone with Eric on some of his walks through.
I'm surprised you made it back.
Always.
Part of you stayed, I bet. Yeah.
They are fun. Actually, I don't think we did one last year. A nice nature walk.
Did you go on the boat with Uke?
I think I only did it once last year.
I've never gone. I'd like to.
It's the best.
Oh, does he have a
You
pontoon or
bought
something?
a boat. He had one little boat, and then I think this is his second or third boat. He keeps upgrading. But now he's like solidified, and you just go spend an afternoon on the river.
Riverboat?
Yeah, he just goes, launches in the river, like goes to Goldby or something.
Yeah.
Drive on up one way. It's sometimes as
and
far
kind
as
of float back.
Float back, and you just stop, and you take your pit stops to do various things. And it's just when you're in the
clean
river
river.
valley,
Yeah.
it is clean. And there's points where you just look around, you're like, I don't know how I'm in a city of 1 million people.
Yeah.
Like it's just all you see is like
So
the riverbanks
special.
and stuff. And it's you get there and you go, this somehow more people need to get here. I don't know how we do it, but getting on that river, it's beautiful. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
It's a great way to spend the summers. Yeah, I think I
take
only
some
did it
White
once
Claws
last
with
year.
me.
You're not allowed. You're not allowed to drink on the river.
What? Fine.
Not allowed.
I
Like
won't
you're not
take
allowed to
White
drink on a golf course. It's that type of stuff.
Yeah, okay. Gotcha.
You haven't been on.
No.
Okay, well.
Haven't yet. Haven't yet.
I'm sure if you ask, he'll take you.
Uke, I want to go.
I don't think he's watching.
He's
That's
gonna
not
catch the
true. He's
replay.
watching for sure.
He's probably watching.
No chance. No chance. It's a Monday. Their show's been done for 30 minutes. Either he's gone home or he's doing something at work.
Yeah, that's true.
So he's not tuning us on. I don't know if he's ever watched.
Wishful thinking.
I need to get him on the Hangout one day.
Yeah,
You
that'd be
should.
fun.
Now that we're partners.
It'd be amazing.
You love that.
What's so funny?
You love that. Hey?
Yeah.
Lieutenant Eric
It's
does
ironic.
say he's past due for a nature walk and wants to bring Tom on the nature walk. So
All right.
That's
LTE. I'm in.
There'll be good times.
Yeah.
All right.
This is the EST Hangout presented by White Claw, Matt Iwanyk, Tom Gazzola, Jeff Krushell, Wil Fraser with you here on Edmonton Sports Talk. Reminder coming up at 11 o'clock, it is the Lock Shop with Dusty and Huss. And then at noon, you are back with Dusty for the Oil Stream as the Oilers sweeping the weekend.
All's right in the world.
For now.
And two wins that were done the right way, right? Like
Yeah.
you wanted to see them put in a defensive effort and get some goaltending, and they did that. And then
Thorough victory yesterday.
then poor old Pittsburgh.
Man, they are
Poor
done.
Old Pittsburgh.
You're right. They're done. Like,
Yeah.
So Dubas gets to do whatever he wants with the team and stuff.
There's a team. There,
Yeah.
Because he goes in and what is said is when he takes over, try to win with Crosby, Malkin, Letang, keep the core together.
I heard you guys
No.
talking about it on the show this morning with Dustin, but like, there's a team that could take a Jack Gamble because their goaltending is atrocious.
Yeah,
Atrocious.
Nedeljkovic and Jari.
That
Although they don't have very good defense either.
that goal that Ryan McLeod scored was a great goal, but it was also an embarrassment to the goaltender. Like anytime a guy intentionally banks it in off the back of your helmet for a goal, that's humiliating.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Like that they know that they've scouted it in advance to know the guy dips his head and hugs the post. So if you just shoot it off his head, the puck will go in. That's a bad tell.
McDavid almost did that exact same thing like 10 minutes later.
Yeah, no,
too.
it was
Yeah.
clear that it
Yeah.
had been scouted.
Yeah.
Like that they were like, guys, we've got an opening here. Just aim for the head.
Bank it in.
Like
And then 2 shot pass goals.
Yeah.
2 off the pillows. And then the pillow passes Gadra and I were talking about. And they took full advantage. Yeah, but Pittsburgh, that's it. Those were 2 daggers
Shut it
over
down.
the weekend. They're done. Yeah. All right. We'll see what the genius of Kyle Dubas is. But Jake
Now he gets to take
Gensel
over.
was in the press box yesterday. I did see him.
Scouting out his new location.
I don't think he's coming here. I think that's a bit of a pipe dream. So, but we'll see. The Oilers are open to everything, and they're talking to everybody. So
It's great to be open to anything and everything, but you only have so much cap space and
Yeah,
assets to
that is
do
a
things with.
total
Although
which
if
is
you
restriction.
look
kind
at
of
how
important.
Dallas is doing things, there's obviously ways to get multiple teams to pick up
Yeah.
half the salary. So
Yeah.
yeah.
and not give up a first rounder.
Right. That was a great move by Dallas.
Still, I guess the sellers are still pretty stubborn right now, and a lot of it is first rounders is where the conversation starts. We'll see if that changes as desperation changes too.
Well, there's not as many first rounders, I don't think, this year
I would
because
think
the
that
East
Tanev deal has changed the conversation a little bit.
Yeah, agreed.
sets the market,
Yeah.
Resets it. A little bit,
Resets
yeah.
it.
like
Yeah.
sets it for the deadline.
Yeah,
and stuff.
exactly. That it's like if you're asking for a first rounder, just start looking through our prospects and we'll give you a B grade prospect.
Yep.
Trade deadline coverage, EST on Friday. We'll have it covered all day. Nielsen Show, trade deadline, EST Hangout. We'll have the oil stream going. We'll have you fully covered here on EST. This came into the nasty chat a little bit earlier. I did want to get to it, though. Who's having a better hair day, Tommy or Will?
Oh boy, no, it's a
Is
draw.
that a tough one?
It's a draw.
Well,
Like
he's still got all the color. I
Oh, the
always
gray
give it
looks
to Tom.
great.
yeah,
It's
but
a
that
sharp
that-
look.
Yeah, that silver fox look.
I know.
I'm
isn't
telling
it
you,
a
man.
strong one?
Distinguished.
Yeah.
You've got a little bit of that going, too.
Oh yeah, it's
looking
coming.
good.
Salt
Yeah,
and pepper.
it's coming.
I'm
It
ready
is-
for that.
It is,
I can't pull that
it
off,
is
though.
Quite a successful group of hair in here
Thank
today.
God.
Like
Yeah.
I'm just thankful.
Is that your Ron Howard bald spot you got hidden underneath there?
No, it's a morning show day.
Oh, okay.
I ain't doing my hair this morning. But that's what I've learned very much is that I come in on the morning show, I'm just wearing a hat.
Yeah,
it's
but
a lot simpler.
what people don't see on the screen is the green room, man, with the makeup and the
Oh,
hair
yeah.
artist
The
and
army
the
of people,
wardrobe.
yeah.
Like coming in here, you're well taken care of.
Yeah.
That's how that
And they
happens.
blood dope for
yeah.
some reason, which is really weird.
Yeah, weird.
They've got a
Prereq.
fridge full of blood.
If you're too clean,
We're vampires.
if you're too clean, we need to change that up. We go the opposite way. You can't be that
It's
clean
like a
coming
Tour de
on.
France operation in there.
Yeah,
It's really
and
weird.
when Frage comes in, it's like Van Halen, right? There's no red M&Ms. Like
Yeah, exactly.
I want a
My
bowl
rider
bowl
is pretty distinct.
But yeah, exactly.
We had Kevin Radomski on, who's now in charge of the Oil Kings, but he
Yes.
used to be in charge of concert promotions in the city and a lot of,
yeah.
and he's talked about those things.
Yeah.
And part of it, they do those as a way to see if you read the
it's-
request.
that's-
It's a test.
that's what it is.
It's a
test.
safety test.
That
yeah.
if they say, "Oh, I only want red M&Ms,"
Yeah.
and they come with full M&Ms, they go, "You didn't read."
Yeah.
But
Van-
if you get all
like-
red M&Ms, they go, "This person cared."
Yeah.
So it's like it goes both ways. with
Van
that.
Halen did it because they had pyrotechnics in their operation. And so they were very much like they wanted to make sure that people were following the rules exactly as they were written out, or else they didn't feel safe with how big their operate. Like when you've got 15 tons dangling above you, you've got explosives all around you. You want to know that you're dealing with people that read every line,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
That set it up exactly the way it needs
And
to
I
be set up.
believe there's a story. As the story goes, there was one where the M&Ms weren't right,
And they didn't
did
go
not
on.
go on.
Yeah.
Really?
Yep, because they weren't sure if the
Yeah.
stage could handle. Because what was it, like 60 tons
Yeah.
of whatever it is on the stage? Can the stage handle it? Is electricity there?
Yeah, like if
All
we
that
can't
stuff.
trust you to sort M&Ms, how can we trust you to not blow us up?
Yeah.
Right? Like that sort of thing.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's how Frage's thing reads when he comes on. So
Yeah.
And we do none of it.
Well,
Right. Right.
You're
We do
right,
none of it right.
because it's the
we
exact
always
opposite.
fail.
I don't want to be dealing with people that are perfectionists. Like I want
Perfect.
just nothing but screw ups. So yeah.
That's our slogan here at EST.
All right.
Nothing but screw ups.
Forget be the best you can be. It's nothing but screw ups.
You'll never feel bad about yourself if you just hang out with
Again,
people who
low
who
bar
never
always.
succeed.
Set everything always low.
My Uncle
Nah.
Diego always says, aim low and achieve.
It's true. Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah.
That's a great way to go about
Thank
it.
you.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I wouldn't implement that in any of your programs, but keep it in the back of your mind.
Jeff, next Tuesday. Yeah, with your kids, just aim really low.
And achieve.
Well, no, this is just all part of that 80-20 rule. You guys are just the 80.
Other people can do the 20, but we can't do the 10. We're just going to go at a perfect speed.
So
But not
We're
too
coasting.
much.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
Oh, beautiful T-shirt. That's a T-shirt
That's
right
a great
there, man.
t-shirt, yeah.
Yeah, for
maybe
sure.
from our official merch partner, The Hive.
And just
The
have
Hive
like a
Product
stick man
Marketing.
shrugging.
Yeah.
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 HiveProductMarketing.com. Check them out for promotional products that bring the buzz. You can head to EdmontonSportsTalk.com right now. This is a perfect segue for me.
Yeah, I love it.
To go to the top shop, EST, we still have some merch for Edmonton Sports Talk. But if you're looking for any promotional products for your company or just yourself, or we'll just make shirts, we're the 80 or whatever you want to go with it. The Hive Product Marketing is who you want to get in touch with. TheHiveProductCom.
Are you curating the next pop-up shop yet?
Uh
You got a lot on your plate, though.
Yeah, no, that's on my list to do this week.
Awesome.
To start, but also I'm working with Chelsea to. Well, I got to talk to her more on the golf tournament stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Because we've
That's gonna
locked
be
down
fun.
the date for the
Yes,
golf
yes,
tournament.
yes,
So
yes,
now
yes.
we've got to see what we can do, and it is March. Before we know it, it's going to be July, and the golf tournament's going to be here. And I don't want to be like, oh crap, the tournament's tomorrow. And I
How
have
does
nothing.
your calendar work?
What way?
You said it is March, and before you know it, it'll be July.
Snap of the finger, it's going to be July, and everything will. I'll have forgotten to not do a bunch of things.
Just reminds me of being a kid, and people would be like, "So how old are you?" And you'd be like, "I'm 11, going on 12." And it'd be like, "Yeah, of course, man. That's how numbers work."
I see what you're saying. No, but a snap of the finger is going to be like things just fly by, and it's just like. With the way things are, I'm planning summer stuff right now, and before I know it, I got to start planning the fall stuff.
Yeah, and then
The Estes.
And then the
but, like,
winter stuff.
I got to start planning it like in the next couple of weeks. I can't wait for them. I got to plan them.
yeah.
If we want to have the Estes in September, October, I got to start that planning now,
Love it.
ahead of time.
Well,
Yeah.
and see, this is why you don't have any time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because I'm already in the future.
Yeah.
Living the now,
I'm already in the
Matthew.
future. Will.
Living the now.
I'm already in the summer. It's beautiful weather. Come join us.
Making it happen, man. Hey, I'm glad about this golf tournament, though. That was a great announcement.
Yeah, it's gonna be a
thank
lot of fun.
goodness, man.
Bringing it back.
crushed the
Back in
logo.
business.
Just got to lock
Those were
down.
fun.
all the
Oh,
info.
so much fun. Yeah, so much fun.
Did
so
you
good.
golf in it, or did you just?
I golfed.
Did you?
Terribly. Yeah. Thank
All
God
of
for
us.
a Texas scramble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the best.
Just yeah.
There's no pressure.
Just put me in a group with someone who can hit a driver, and then 5-iron in, I'm pretty solid. But man,
Perfect.
yeah,
What's the distance for the 5-iron?
about 170.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's pretty solid.
yeah,
I respect that.
yeah.
You gonna go golfing a lot this year?
I
even
don't
gonna have
typically
time?
get out a lot. I love golfing, though. And at the tournament, we hosted a hole more than I golfed.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's too much time. Give me a 7-hole
golfing?
golf course. I'll be really happy.
Wow, that's very efficient.
Just go do
Yeah.
9.
Seven.
Nine
It's 2 more
holes.
holes.
Nine's
Even,
perfect.
even
Nine-
9's too much, man.
It's 2 more holes.
Yeah, that's-
One's generally a
it's too
par
much.
3, which is like 6 minutes.
Yeah.
I like going out for 9 holes. Good 9 holes in the morning. Boom, get it done. Good day of work in.
The morning's a nice one.
Yeah.
Like if I don't have to do morning show, I could probably do 9 before. We could probably get 9 in before we come here.
Might have to do that.
Although
Get to
now I
Vic.
just look at golf courses and I think, man, this would be nice to run this. Like,
Juno's running a golf course.
who's running a golf?
Someone we used to work.
Oh no,
with.
no, I don't mean operate it. I mean literally just put on running shoes and run the
Oh,
course.
that.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Be a ball
I
fine.
was gonna say Meg Morrison. People.
I know
from
she's out.
1260.
Her course is like a mere 5 miles away.
Glacier
from my
Golf
home.
Club, I think it is. Or
Oh,
golf
they've
course or
renamed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was. I forgot what it was before. Was it
Dragon.
McDuffie's or something.
McDuff's,
Was it that
yeah.
one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now no, it's like Glacier or something. Glacier
Okay.
Golf Course. Sorry, Meg, for getting that wrong. Even though she's probably not listening, anyways.
She might be.
My wife played in the women's league there.
Yeah.
They had a great time.
I have to get out there.
They said
I meant
Meg
to
was
get
great,
out there
fun.
last year, but I didn't get
they
there.
They're working on it.
She
but-
loves her golf.
Yeah.
And if somebody's going to run a course right, she'll have it done
We
right.
should have her come on. She's,
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
yeah, I haven't heard from her in a while. She was awesome.
I was trying
Good
to
golfer too. Holy
Yes.
cow,
Golfed
is
with
she
her
a good
once.
golfer.
Yeah.
She was amazing.
Yeah. And a good hockey player too.
Got it. She scored an eagle,
didn't know
but
that.
like off like a great chip or whatever goes in eagle.
Yeah, yeah.
It was wonderful.
Approach.
I couldn't do it. Well, it's from a more distance, though. I guess I'm describing this very poorly right now.
I got it.
Sounds like you need to hit the course a little bit more. If you were
He's got a
only
bad
If you were
shoulder.
only in the
Yeah,
present.
he's out. What is the timeline, by the way?
I see
Like,
surgeon.
Are
next
you
week.
working with him?
Yeah, no, I'm open. I told you I was.
Yeah.
But we're waiting. I don't think it's going to take as long as you think.
Well, I meet surgeon next week,
Yeah.
so I got to ask him. My physiotherapist said she's going like 6 months was her thing about there, which is mid-June.
Yeah.
So what is it? Were we talking rotator? What happened?
Labrum.
Labrum.
Yep. And I'm not even 3 months in. Yet.
So are you putting yet?
I haven't asked if I could putt yet.
Yeah. So when do you see the surgeon?
Next week.
That was my number one question to ask. If you
no,
read my
that's I
text.
made surgeon. I go to the surgeon for another follow-up next week.
Yeah.
And that
Ask about
I haven't
putting.
asked about golfing or anything yet with
No,
him. So
but ask about putting for sure. It's not going to be a problem.
I did ask my physiotherapist about running, and at first she's like, "No, not yet.
Yeah.
Go do some walking on inclines, but you're not ready to
Yeah.
have the movement of running because I miss running.
Holy cow! You did some damage.
Well, you can't move. You don't want to
Just
be moving.
put you back together with the cadaver parts. I think that's what we should do.
I find
just
that so
preemptively,
grim.
just Tommy John it. Do the labor.
No,
like, just,
actually, there's a lot of people, like kids, getting Tommy John these days. Isn't there?
It's
People,
crazy.
Is
it's
it
a preemptive.
preemptive?
It's a preemptive.
Yeah,
Yikes.
some of it's preemptive.
Like as soon
There's-
as they start to show that they are getting swelling in that area, they'll preemptively
You like that?
do it.
No, I don't like it. No, I don't like it at all.
What do they take? They take a hamstring and then they put it in.
Sometimes
They,
hamstring,
they tie
sometimes
it up.
cadaver.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes, it's and there's not too many orthopedic surgeons that will actually do it unless there's a health issue, like a long-term health issue. But listen, talking to every year we try to visit with the medical directors of the different leagues, right? The NHL, NFL, Major League Baseball, NBA. NBA is an interesting one. They are up against it, maybe as bad as baseball, believe it or not, with the overuse injuries they're seeing in their youth going getting draft eligible youth. They're seeing wear and tear on these young athletes that they never used to see in 10-year veterans of the game.
Where's that coming from?
Youth sport, man. It's just the
Summer
overplaying.
Summer league.
Overplaying. They're saying hips, knee degeneration in 16, 17, 18-year-olds. Never seen before. And this is the medical directors of the league, right? It's scary what's going on.
Yeah.
Again, another reason we just need to talk to parents. Like, oh my goodness. But talking to the Major League Baseball, the orthopedic surgeon guys, they're saying, look, this is a conversation actually on our show. You can go back and get this archives from just before COVID. We're saying, we're talking to one of the orthopedic surgeons from the Braves, and he's going, hey, listen, so, the number one, the fastest growing orthopedic procedure in the U.S. is Tommy John surgery.
Jeez.
And this is not even sport related. The fastest growing, right?
Yeah.
That wasn't it. He goes, this is how he said it. So yeah, the fastest growing, injuries are at an all-time high. The fastest growing orthopedic procedure in the U.S. is Tommy John surgery in athletes under 15 years of age. Never seen before. And again, the ligament is so strong at that age. The ligament's not broken down, and the ligament's not tearing.
Right.
It's actually causing the bone to rip apart at the growth plates, an avulsion fracture, right? So now the surgeons, they're not fixing the ligament anymore. They're going in and have to drill the bone back in place.
Oh my
Total mismanagement of youth athletes and youth sport.
But the flip side is also that their recovery is way quicker at that age, just because they have so much human growth hormone naturally running through their system.
For sure.
That there is a certain, like, the debate is kind of like, well, if we do it when they're 16, they'll actually be back on the mound by the time they're 17, thrown again. Whereas if you wait until they're in their 20s, your recovery time is just so
That
much
full year or whatever
strung
it
out.
is,
Yeah.
yeah.
I would just like to see them do a comparison of operation and shut down for a year versus just shut down for a year.
Yeah.
Like, what would be the difference? Like, would you have the same problem? Like, within 2 years, would that elbow be the same problem? Or is it just an overuse and the kid just needs a year off?
We're going to have some cool shows coming up. We're doing sort of a preseason baseball special here, but this goes well beyond just baseball. We're going to be talking to some of the experts, talking about, what happens if we do go back a foot, in terms of the rubber on the mound for our pro guys. What is that going to mean? It's not as scary as people might think, but it does open up the issue to a number of things. But we're going to talk about this whole overuse thing. And I'm just telling you, when we look at the number, because baseball, again, for years, in this has been happening for over a decade. They're trying to figure out a fix for this injury problem. Because for the last 8 years, historical, never recorded before in Major League Baseball. 2019, we were down 4%. They added extra man to the roster, an extra 4 days rest. So could that be? We don't have data yet. We're still waiting on last year. But listen, we're looking at an epidemic in sport. And there's groups out there calling it child abuse right now. And these words are coming out when we're talking about sport, for crying out loud. When kids are going through their accelerated growth curves, that is when they're most vulnerable to injury. If we had an age group we needed to protect above all else, it's when your kids start growing. So what we do, for the parents out there, coaches, please listen, in any sport, we do a wingspan measurement on all of our kids. As soon as they turn 13, sometimes 12, we start measuring their wingspan, fingertip to fingertip. When we start seeing centimeters coming in, we have to manage those athletes, boys and girls, totally differently than anybody else. And the ones who grow fast, of course, you think, hey, man, they're more mature, they're bigger, they're stronger, have more leverage. They're the ones who are getting used more. They're at the highest risk of injury. We're destroying talent. And I say this on the show all the time. We're destroying more with the greatest of intentions. We're destroying more talent than we're creating. And it's just from not knowing the facts, man. That's all it is. We're going to be talking about that in the show coming up when it comes to managing baseball players. Because
is there any data with Tampa Bay and the way that they've been employing their pitching?
Oh,
because I mean,
I know those guys. Kevin Cash was one of my players.
They're kind of, controversial isn't the right term, but they were the ones that really pushed the idea of your starter, similar to your closer,
right?
So that you would run a pitcher out there for just the first or second inning and then move off of them.
the opener.
The opener, yeah. Are we at a point yet, data-wise, where we're seeing is it increasing injuries or decreasing? My hypothesis would be that it decreases injuries.
Yeah, right.
That because you are taking a warm pitcher, because he has warm up, letting him go out there, throw at velocity, and then as the game starts to lengthen out, shutting him down prematurely, and then getting into more like live arms, warm arms earlier. I just wonder if that will have an impact on the amount of pitches that they can throw in a season, because
it makes so much sense.
Because to me, the danger is anytime you're watching a ball game and you see a long inning, I always get a little bit like the tension kind of builds in, because you're just kind of like, that's a pretty cold arm that's coming back to the mound, right?
Yep.
Whereas the guy that's been able to stay in the rhythm, they're the ones that can throw 120 pitches because they've got a live arm. It's that cooling off period when your offense explodes for 7 runs in an inning, and it really cools off.
We've
the pitcher.
got tunnel strategies for that too when guys sit too long, for sure. But no, it's a good point. The game is changing for sure. But I am going to suggest, guys, that we're going to start seeing the starter return 5+ innings, 5+ innings. Because listen, you have a guy who's on and has that mindset that he wants to throw. It's going to come back. I think so. That makes a lot of sense.
So that's kind of a mind over matter sort of thing, right?
For sure. But listen,
where athletically it might be healthy, but like psychologically you might be killing the athlete.
Yeah, exactly, for sure. But even physically, though, that 5-day, if you look at the 5-day ebb and flow of a starting pitcher, now with it, depending how teams are operating, some of them are working on six day rotations, right?
Yeah.
It is the most beautiful schedule in all of sport. You can recover, train, peak for their start. Recover, train. It's like the NFL. NFL might be the best actual performance schedule in all of sport. Baseball is a disaster, but a starting pitcher you can manage.
Yeah.
Crush Performance, you catch it live right here in Edmonton Sports Talk Wednesday nights at 7. If you tune in to the Crush Performance Wednesday nights at 7, or go to our website at edmontonsportstalk.com and listen to it there, you will have a chance to win 2 tickets to Marmot Basin. All you have to do is listen for the weekly password. And then you either email Jeff, info@crushperformance.com, or direct message him on social media with Krusher, I Want to Ski, with then that weekly password. And then you'll go into a draw for that 2 tickets to Marmot Basin each week. That is exclusive to Edmonton Sports Talk, 7 o'clock.
78 centimeters of snow in the last week.
Yeah, because his show is also available Apple, Spotify, jeffkrushell.com. But on Edmonton Sports Talk airing 7 o'clock on Wednesdays, that's the only chance you can win that 2 tickets. Or 2 passes to Marmot Basin. Seminar next Tuesday, March 12th, 7 through 9. It's up website, I'm assuming, jeffkrushell.com. Also on our Twitter account at Yeg Sports Talk on Twitter for more information on that. Jeff, it's always great having you. Thank
you, guys.
By.
And thanks for helping promote that. I'm pretty passionate about this one. I just am. It's got me. So I'm not stopping.
No, you're never stopping.
Thanks for coming in, Will. You going
Always
for a
pleasure,
run today?
guys. Yeah, of course.
Well, just like
But
you
it's a
look so
zone
good.
2.
Oh, you've got the
Today
run.
was zone 2 for
Zone
sure.
2 run.
You do have the runners on for you.
Those are pretty.
Well, these are my parents.
Spiffy. I like those. Yeah, very
Tommy?
good grip.
Good seeing you.
Thank you. I've seen you like every day almost for the last 2 weeks.
Except yesterday.
4-game
yeah.
winning
We didn't see
streak
each other.
certainly makes the arena easier to go into,
It
doesn't
really
it?
does.
Yeah.
It changes things.
We can't get
doesn't it?
yelled at as a group.
Yeah.
Oilstream coming up noon. You and Dustin Nilsson coming up next, though. Dusty Haas with the Lock Shop as they'll recap the weekend and look ahead to tonight in the sports betting world. Thanks for tuning into the EST Hangout presented by White Claw. On behalf of Will, Jeff, Tom, I'm Matt. Lock Shop in just a few minutes right here on Edmonton Sports Talk, edmontonsportstalk.com, or YouTube, or on iHeart and TuneIn. We'll talk with you tomorrow.
Let's go. There you go, right in front of the camera.
First-time guest, long-time listener, fan of the original draft commissioner.
Welcome to the EST Hangout presented by White Claw Hard Seltzer. The difference is clear. Matt Iwanyk, Tom Zola with here. Joining us today,